Give me coffee in the morning, gotta have the caffeine. Wake me up, shake me up, dip me back on my seat. 1 sip, 2 sips, and I'm feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning, it's the best way to survive. Woke up in the morning, sleepy eyes yawning. Jumped out of bed, started the day, opened the curtains. Felt the cool breeze, the sun shining on my face.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let me. Good morning, Joe. Long time no see.
Good morning, Salty. It has been a little while.
It has been a minute. Welcome in, everybody. I usually sing my song as it's playing, and I can't help myself. I got to sing it. So I usually am muted, so y'all got to hear me sing. Can't help myself. Welcome in, Forrest. Got a chat delay over here on the restream, but on my phone I see it. Oh, there it's coming. I see Joe's now, but I don't see Forrest. That's weird. Well, welcome in, like I said. So how you all settled in over there now? It's your new digs for your next few weeks or however long it's going to be.
Yeah, 95%. I still need to tweak my studio setup. But otherwise, yeah, we're all settled in.
Good for you. Good. You getting yourself plenty of rest before the big trial starts. Monday's opening statements, correct?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
That
And I
should
gotta
be
go ahead.
that should be a fun time. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and I gotta make myself like a reminder note of my time difference because I am going to be streaming it. And I'm kind of thankful for the half-hour delay because I probably won't be able to contain myself. I'll have to stop and pause and comment. That way I won't mess up the live proceedings. You know what I mean? Like it's okay, people. It's not live, so it's okay. But yeah. So I got to time it so when I don't want to start like hours before the actual proceedings of the day start.
Right. And I've got to figure out. So they have big signs up on the courtroom doors that say no phones, no electronics, or turn your phone completely off, sort of thing. And they did not apply that rule during jury selection. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do apply it for the actual trial itself once opening statements start. If they do let me use my phone in there, then I'm going to be trying to find some way for people to ask me questions about what I'm observing in the courtroom that they can't necessarily figure out from watching it, on court TV or whatever stream you use.
Um, I guess they could text them to you on a Twitter feed because a lot of times a lot of reporters who are in the courtrooms just tweet out everything going on.
Right, right. And that's what I've done in the past. But
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if they enforce that rule this time or not.
Yeah, a lot of times it just depends on the actual courtroom and who the judges are and all that good stuff. And a lot of times, with it like at lunch breaks, people run out and do their little mini lives or mini lunch updates or whatever. But I know y'all are worried about not getting seats or whatever if y'all leave the courtroom. Is that how you think it's going to play out like Delphi?
Yeah, it's every time you leave the courtroom, it goes back to first come, first serve for seat availability. So just like it was in Delphi, you run out, find wherever the line is supposed to be, and now we know where that line is established, where seat number 1 is. So you run around and you sit in those seats as quickly as you can, depending on how full it is. But I imagine for opening statements, it's going to be pretty full.
Yeah, I mean, with media for wanting to put their stuff in print and everything.
Well, media has an assigned 15 seats. They get the
Mhm.
entire back row. So
Yeah,
so 15 in the back and then 15 in the front for family. So then it'll be the middle 45 seats that are for the public.
yeah. Well, hopefully it will go smooth. I mean, I don't know. if I had, I don't know. I don't know if I could stay. It'd be hard without busting out laughing at some point at her, not at the the procedures and everything going down in the seriousness of what's happening in there, but just at her. I think she might get comical at sometimes to the point
Oh
where
yeah,
scratch your head kind of stupid shit, you know.
there are going to be histrionics. We know that.
Oh
And
yeah, and it's Lori, so we don't really expect much, too terribly. Nothing that woman really does surprises me. I mean, it really doesn't because I've seen her in action for so damn long. Um, so it's not surprising. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out and how that judge can maintain his composure with her and his patience with her. You know, I
yeah, and he has an angelic, I guess you could call it, level of patience with her. I mean,
oh yeah,
she has yelled at him like that. Um, the hearing the other day that involved Nate Eaton and a
oh
few
I
other
know.
things. Her yelling, "I'm not getting a fair trial," and him just being so patient with her.
Yeah, I got a short video I haven't put out yet of Miss Lori getting a little feisty there, because she
Yep.
certainly did a few times. And then, and I was listening to the different people talk about the jury questionnaires and uh, how she didn't seem to be real confident when asking jurors questions. And then I had to, and I'm like thinking, well, that's because she doesn't have the experience in that. And she doesn't have a qualified defense team around her because there's actual, there's a protocol you go by as to what you're, asking your jurors and picking your jurors. And she apparently appeared to be lost during that part, you know.
Yeah, she
Um,
definitely was. And Chris and I talked about that a little bit. I tried to describe it to him that she had her yellow pad of paper that she had her stuff written down on, and she kept looking down and taking off her glasses and putting her reading glasses back on and flipping the pages in her yellow notepad. And she definitely was a little bit lost. And she
yeah.
just tried to resort to her narrative that it's not fair for her.
Well, she can cry me a river somewhere else. It's not fair what you did to all the people. And but I've been working on some deeper dive stuff where with Lori and different people that have come into play because of her madness. Um, and some different things that I've been working on. So I'm probably gonna actually, because I'll be live Sunday as usual with my Salty Sunday, and because the trial starts on Monday and I will be covering it, I am putting together a show for Sunday, and it will be all Lori Davallo. But I said that wrong. Lori Daybell. I didn't even want to say Vallow, but it snuck out. But yes, I'm going to be presenting some more. We've been watching a lot of stuff this week, leading up, getting everybody familiar with some of the people in the case and how he got here now. So we've been doing a little bit of that while you've been there, trying to get information out to us. So we appreciate your efforts there. And we were all waiting on text updates. We know when you're busy, and if you can't get them out, you can't get them out. But fortunately this time she didn't get her way, and there will be a camera in the courtroom. So maybe it won't be so maddening for you to have to get down every little detail. You know what I mean? You can get those really things that stand out to you, and you're going to have a great commentary at the end of the day.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And yeah, it'll be nice not to have to scribble everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it's going to be there, and then that way you just those very particular things that that stick out to you or you want to remember to talk about later. Yeah, you'll have, it'll free your mind up a little better to concentrate. You know what I mean? Because I know in Delphi, trying to write everything down, even Bob had that issue where you don't hear everything because you're trying to write everything down. So I'm glad
Yeah,
it
and
was
that's
stress.
actually an admonition that the judge gives to the jury. He says you'll have a notepad, but don't get so caught up in writing notes
Hmm.
that you don't pay attention to the witnesses.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to do that. So excuse me, real happy. Welcome in, Butterfly. Welcome in. Good to see you guys in here. Yes, happy. We are glad that Joe's going to be there. He can keep his eyes on that lady, right? In case she tries to run. Joe, I expect you to jump up and go after her. If she tries to run, that's going to be your job. You are
So I can
our
get
you're our bailiff.
as soon
We're
as I tackle her, I'm going to get co-shocked by that wreck.
Co-shocked. You got accidental involvement. Goodness gracious. So, I have just a short clip I want to share with you guys this morning on Lori Vallow, and a little short clip of Karen Reed, up just to the updates, because we are following those two trials. And I'm not going to sit here and watch an entire jury process because I think they're boring. I already know the main questions that were being asked out of both jurors. Thank God Lori's is unseated and done. But, they're airing all of the Karen Reed jury stuff, and that's fine. People who are interested in that, once they're over the basic questions, the rest of it's like, So I haven't been really watching that too much. But let me start. There is an interesting development that came out of there, though, that I will touch on. But let me start with this Lori piece here. Because, like I've told everybody, I know that we are interested in both cases here. Lori's trial will start Monday with opening statements. I don't know if they'll have a jury chosen by the end of the week of next week for Karen Reed, but I won't be able to cover both trials at the same time. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to stress myself out about this. What I think I'll do is we'll give Karen recaps. I know people that want to watch that trial will go and watch it. You know what I mean? And that's fine. But I will be streaming the Vallow trial. But I will be doing case updates on Karen Reed here, and as well as Lori. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that, because I had to make a decision, and I don't know. I know way more about the Vallow case than I do, this thing over here in Canton. I don't know about all that. All right, let me get this screen up and share with you guys. And we'll do these two short clips before we move into our main subject for the day. I've been sitting around for a day and a half, 2 days, watching everybody get caught up to my AT&T time and records that I'm just obsessed with. Dropped a video on it 3 weeks ago. Tried to have conversations surrounding the documents pertaining to those very important call records and the discrepancies I saw in the dates that were being talked about by both sides. And so I just had to sit back and watch everybody else now jump in and try to figure it out. And I'm like, y'all go ahead and get caught up. I'm going to go ahead and plan my other stuff. So I'm not even to talk about that stuff today. Nothing new's come down, by the way, in the case file to even talk about. So here is the piece that I found that I was going to share with you guys on Lori's trial.
Doomsday mom Lori Vallow.
Yeah, the convicted killer representing herself at trial, accused of conspiracy in the murder of her fourth husband. Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum was in the courtroom and tells us how Vallow Daybell addressed the jury today.
We finally got to watch Lori Vallow Daybell ask jurors questions. At some point, she lost her train of thought and had trouble phrasing her questions. She even told the potential jurors that they were brought here to protect her from the state. There were a couple of objections from the prosecution, and the judge even had to help clarify some of the questioning from Lori Vallow Daybell. To be clear, this is video from yesterday's hearing, as cameras aren't allowed inside for jury selection. We came into the afternoon session of court with 55 jurors remaining. 14 would be excused after the judge asked the group questions about being fair and impartial, hardships, and any biases toward law enforcement. With 41 jurors left, the court focused on the jury box of 17 people. The state asked if they would give Vallow Daybell more leeway because she's not a lawyer and representing herself. There were no hands raised. Vallow Daybell got her chance and asked the jurors if they would have prejudice if she did not testify, and if her side of the story wasn't heard, would they deem her, quote, automatically guilty? There wasn't much response. Both the prosecutor and defense brought up the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to see if jurors had issues with religion. Vallow Daybell is accused of espousing bizarre spiritual beliefs to justify the murder of her then-husband, Charles Vallow. He was shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox, who claimed self-defense. Ultimately, 13 men and 3 women were chosen to sit on this jury. I spoke to Tom Evans, who was an alternate juror in Vallow Daybell's Idaho trial. Here are his thoughts on her demeanor.
Yesterday she was a little bit feisty. Today she seemed to kind of freeze up in front of the jurors. She couldn't she had a question to ask, but she couldn't remember what the question was. It felt like a couple times. So yeah, that was kind of strange.
Opening statements are set for Monday at 10:30 a.m. and we will be streaming the trial on our YouTube channel by 11. Just scan the QR code on your screen to subscribe, and we'll provide live analysis and have legal experts joining us throughout the day as we watch the trial. The 4 alternate jurors will be chosen at random. After closing arguments wrap up, the final 12 will decide the verdict. I'm Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum.
And the time that
So, excuse me. So they'll be streaming it on Fox as well. And they're going to have some experts coming in there. So I don't know if we'll watch it, stream it from Fox, or if I'll stream it straight from Court TV. I haven't decided yet. It'll probably depend on who has the better audio.
I think I told you this already, Salty. I met Tom during the lunch break. Actually, I met him in the morning, just shook his hand, but then I got to know him a little better during the lunch break, and we actually sat next to each other for the afternoon session. And he's a really, really good guy. I mean, you can just tell just meeting him. He's very honest, very sincere. He's unassuming. And yeah, I really like him a lot. Like we hit it off like right off the bat. So he agreed to come on for an interview at some point in the future. So to talk about his new book, he wrote a book earlier that I think that was that Money, Power, and Sex, I think was the title of his first book, and the second one is going to be more about Chad than the first one was. But yeah, I really like that guy. That was cool. He got Justin got an interview with him. I didn't know that.
That's interesting. And you can get him on to have some talks about that. That'd be great. Real Happy says, channel I'm odd for is carrying it, so I'll be there, but we'll pop over to y'all too. You're good. You're good. Trust me, I know y'all got lots of choices and options out there. So I appreciate it when y'all do come in here and hang out with us. I do. Okay, so that was the update. So Lori's got 13 men and 3 women on her jury.
Correct.
I wonder let's see how she handles that. You know what I mean? As far as
the only time that she went off script and she kind of put down her notebook was for her very last question. And her very last question was, so if I don't testify for myself, who will hold that against me? Who will basically that's it. She kind of rephrased it one more time, but basically, if I don't testify for myself, who's going to hold that against me? And of course, nobody raised their hand.
Yeah, because we're not supposed to. I mean, all defendants have the right not to take the stand. So
sure, but my point is that was the only time where she kind of flipped her hair and she and her eyes kind of actually panned the jury box, looking around to the different people. Like if she did,
she's trying to figure out which one she can. I feel like she was probably scanning that box to see which one she could connect with. And now she's got to get to know them. I don't know if this trial will last long. You know what I mean? Let's not forget also that she basically had no defense in Idaho. Like, they didn't even put on a defense, right? They said that the state would fail to prove their case, therefore they didn't have to put on a defense because Lori did not help them put on a defense. And at the end of the trial, there was basically hardly any closing arguments from the defense team. Is she going to play it the same way here? I really don't got to put on a defense because you guys are going to fail to prove your case. Just watch and see. Well, good luck with that, Lori, because we see how that worked out in Idaho with attorneys, right? That's crazy. All right, so this is an interesting piece that came down that I found this morning when right after I got up and got my coffee. So they are still, like I said, still trying to seat a jury over there. There's a lot of shadiness that goes on appears to me from both sides of the teams here. So I don't even I have no dog in the hunt. I can't tell you who's guilty of what in this case. I feels like a lot of people's guilty of a lot of things. But now they're going to sue the judge. because apparently the supporters of Karen Reed, whatever if they have a name or a group, I don't really know what they do or call themselves, but they're a little mad because of the buffer zone that the judge set up. They want to be front and center. So let's take a look at this piece.
New today, Reed supporters are suing Judge Beverly Cannoni over a decision to extend the buffer zone around the courthouse. Boston 25 News reporter Ryan Breslin is on scene for us now. The details, Ryan.
Kale, 87 new jurors were brought in today. 35 returned from yesterday. Those 35 filled out questionnaires on Tuesday. They were sent home and are coming back for in-person questioning. Now, of these new jurors, a majority, they are familiar with the trial. 77 have heard or talked about the case. 38 have formed opinions, and 14 indicated they've already formed a bias. Karen Reed and her defense team, along with the prosecution, in the courthouse again today for jury selection after arriving before 9 a.m. Her supporters standing on the opposite end of the buffer zone today, which is closer to the courthouse and near Dedham businesses. That changed to their typical demonstrations after the area of the buffer zone was extended for this retrial. 4 people have filed a complaint in federal court against Judge Beverly Cannoni and her buffer zone order, saying that they want to publicly express themselves near the courthouse but not on the courthouse grounds. Those people want a federal judge to find that the new buffer zone is unconstitutional under the First and 14th Amendments and that enforcing it would be unconstitutional as well. Another new decision from Beverly Cannoni, the judge in this case, she will allow the witness testimony of Dr. Judson Welcher for the Commonwealth. Now, he is an executive vice president of Aperture LLC, focusing on accident reconstruction and biomechanics. The defense had asked that his testimony be excluded in this case. And in testimony in general, the judge says that they should plan for testimony to go from 6 to 8 weeks for this trial. For now, live in Dedham, Ryan Breslin for your local station, Boston 25 News.
You know what I find odd in that case? These ARCA experts, weren't they independently hired by the state? And then the prosecution wanted the defense ARCA people out, and then the defense wanted the prosecution ARCA people out. What the hell was the point of hiring ARCA to start with? We're not going to believe them. We don't even want them in court, neither side. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And I feel like they're insulting my intelligence along the way. I can't with these people over there in Canton. Hello, Asha. Welcome in. It's great to see you here. Let's see. Oh, you're welcome, Butterflies. Thanks for the updates. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. So any thoughts on the Karen Reed situation over there, Joe? Them getting all mad about not being able to stand. I mean,
I'm not familiar with the ARCA situation. I'm not.
Yeah, well, that's the. I don't understand why every side, I get it, wants to keep out experts, but these particular experts, it doesn't make any sense to me. What's going on with that? If they were independently hired and they both did their thing, and then I don't know. It's just that the whole thing's a mess. They actually had hearings over these ARCA people, but the whole thing with Karen Reed and these. It made me want, because I know in Delphi we had a lot of protesters, supporters, whatever you want to call them, gathered. They also had groundswell in Delphi, which wasn't as big as they wanted it to be, but it was a protest. You've had all these protests going on with Karen Reed. All these hearings in Brian Koberger, so far so good. But I don't know how that's going to play out when trial comes. Are we at a point, I'm wondering, where these big high-profile cases are drawing such a crowd? Do you know what I mean? Out gathering outside. To me, it's odd behavior. I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and I get it if they really feel like somebody was wronged, or if they really feel like somebody's being railroaded. I get all that, but every time we have a high-profile case, is this what we can expect going forward? That's where my thought is on all that. Right, Forrest? That's a lot of times what the problem is with these experts. You know, of course, one side doesn't want the other side's experts in. But I want them all to be actual experts and not armchair experts, right? I get that enough on the YouTube. No YouTube experts, please. Good morning, Sajoy. Welcome in. How are you? Thanks for being here. I'm just making sure I haven't missed you guys saying something in chat to me. Again, welcome in, everybody. We're going to get started here in a second with our Brian Koberger stuff. So there hasn't been a lot, anything new that had came down that, other than a couple of formal filings to seal things, so we can't even see what those are. So there was no point in really looking at those. I'm going to check real quick to make sure nothing's come down since early this morning before I went live, because I haven't checked since early. Because I'm waiting on a couple of things to come back. Let me see. Let me take a look. It looks like we do have some new things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I need to look and see if, okay. Because they were ordered to file some more things without redacted. You know what I'm saying? We could see them. So all this business about the gag order bullshit's over. So let me see here. That came out last. Okay, this was it. Okay. Defendant's third supplemental response to discovery, stipulated motion to seal Exhibit C, which is a response to a defendant's third supplemental response to discovery. Okay, this one is about the witness penalty phase. We're gonna read that one. Hold on. Motion and lemonies. All right, I'm gonna pull this up and we'll kind of go over what's up here. And I'm gonna have to do. Oh wait, let me get this bigger because I can't pull up the whole case file. I have to pull up each record individually and then put them up there. So I'll start at the bottom where they're new, and so we can just kind of skim through these. This one is a 2-pager. It's going to be a formality filing. Okay, so this one is defendant's third supplemental response to discovery. Now comes Brian Koberger through his attorney of record and hereby submits his third supplemental response to discovery to include additional documents as required by Idaho Criminal Rule 16. Exhibit C, which is an index of discovery provided to the state, will be filed under seal. Should additional information become available, Mr. Koberger will timely supplement his discovery response. So this must be talking about some of his experts, because he doesn't really have anything else to put up there. You know what I mean? As far as I hate that I have to take down that every single time. Maybe it's time for me to invest in another monitor. That would help me, wouldn't it? Then I'd probably just really confuse myself constantly. I'd be like, no. Yeah, is Tom LDS, Joe? That's a good question, real happy.
I don't know.
Huh.
That is a good question.
Carol says, welcome in, Carol. I received guest memberships to both of your channels yesterday or day before. Grateful to the donors. In midst of medical tests, I have not been as present. Oh, well, you're good. Hope you're doing well. We hope everything goes well with your medical test. I think that's something a lot of us can get behind and understand. So we'll hold some space for you and say little prayers. But thank you for being here, and we're glad you were gifted a membership. We appreciate all of our viewers, don't we, Joe?
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
If Joe disappears on me, guys, he has a couple of business calls, so if he's not going to be rude and just ignore me, well, he might, and he could use an excuse, but I doubt it. He's usually pretty honest with me. We're usually very honest with one another. We don't have nothing to hide. Okay, so this one I do kind of want to. I'm interested to see if it's got anything we can see in it. No, it's just going to be another 2-pager about sealing stuff. So over that, the court having before it the motion to seal defendant's exhibit in support of affidavit and objection. It is hereby ordered defendants exhibit 1A in support of their objection to the text messages and the testimony and Mr. Roloff's affidavit. Now, Roloff is the expert they're bringing in on the defense side as to why they should keep those text messages out of the testimony, which is crazy. Counsel is ordered to provide a redacted version to be publicly filed, redacting personal information and identifiers, including all phone numbers, names of the victims, including Bethany and Dylan. Initials only shall be used. Signed by Judge Hippler. Okay, so that we didn't get to see anything in there. Okay, we have Mr. Roloff's thingy here. Let's pull him up. Guys, thank you for waiting, being patient. I do have a show actually lined up. This stuff came down, so we're going to review it quickly before we move on. Okay, you guys can see that good enough? All right, so this is a 4-pager, and this is amended notice of filing declaration in support of defendant's objection to the state's motion in limine text messages. This is Mr. Roloff's declaration that they have offered. Okay, let me get a drink real quick, guys. I keep wanting to. It was so windy here yesterday. You would thought, I mean, the fields around me, they have been preparing, to start planting soon. And all day long, every time I looked out the back door, all I could see was just big clouds of dust flying across these fields. Like, I didn't even want to walk outside. And it's had my sinuses so messed up. I better get me some allergy or sinus medicine on hand. All right. Okay. So I, Josiah Roloff, declare as follows. I am over the age of 18 and competent to testify in this matter. I'm currently the president and senior digital forensic examiner at Roloff Digital Forensics, a private digital forensics firm headquartered in Spokane, Washington. My firm provides digital forensic services and consulting in legal matters involving electronic evidence, including evidence derived from computers, mobile phones, memory cards, other electronic devices, and data sets from third-party electronic service providers. My background in digital forensics includes a professional certificate in computer forensics from Oregon State University and New Technologies, known as NTI, the Certified Computer Examiner credential from the International Society of Forensic Computer Examiners, the In-Case Certified Examiner. Remember that word, in-case, ENCASE, because we're going to be hearing about that a little bit in some of the DeSales content we're going to be reviewing here in a little bit. And boy, did Brian Koberger learn a lot at DeSales University. We're going to look at what y'all learned over there at DeSales. Certification from Guidance Software and multiple certifications. Celebrite is also brought up in the DeSales content we're going to look at. And of course, that's the cell phone data company, including the Celebrite Certified Logical Operator, Celebrite Certified Physical Analysis, and Celebrite Certified Mobile Examiner. A lot like Mr. Koberger was studying. Interesting. I also held an associate degree in applied science and network engineering from Spokane Community College and a bachelor's degree in liberal studies with an emphasis in program management from Whitworth University. A summary of my qualifications is included with my attached curriculum vitae. Don't make that mistake, butterfly. We're in the girl, not down here. You can't, not yet, not until April. You know better. Oh, I hope everything was okay. I know there was some pretty bad storms lurking around out there yesterday and yesterday evening. We just had nasty wind. Forrest, no way. Get out of town with that mess. Right? We're ready for spring. Salty is ready for spring, guys. I do not do winter. I hate it with a passion. All right, number 4. Nothing good comes of winter, I always say. Dark, cold days. Short, dark, cold days. Number 4. I have worked exclusively in the field of digital forensics since 2003. During this time, I have conducted examinations on thousands of digital evidence items, included hardware drives, CDs, DVDs, floppy diskettes, thumb drives. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to reposition myself in my chair and about got stuck. Flashcards, magnetic tapes, tablet devices, cellular phones, SIM cards, PDAs, smartphones, feature phones, and data obtained from internet service providers, cloud storage providers, and cellular service providers. I have worked on over 1,500 digital forensic cases involving these types of media. Number 5, in addition to my work as a digital forensics examiner, I regularly lecture on topics related to general and mobile digital forensics and their application in legal proceedings. In 2015, I co-authored the mobile forensics chapter in the Chapman Hall CRC publication, Mobile Devices, Tools, and Technologies. I have been recognized as a computer, digital, and mobile forensics expert in numerous United States court districts, military courts, and state courts nationwide. I have been retained or appointed as an expert consult and expert witness in both criminal and civil matters on behalf of both prosecution and defense. I have never failed to qualify as an expert in any civilian or military court. My firm's clients include the United States Navy, Marine Corps, Army, Air Force, and Coast Guard, numerous federal and state public defender offices, and private attorneys throughout the United States, Europe, and Asia. I have examined digital evidence in cases involving allegations of homicide, sexual exploitation, solicitation, sexual assault, authorized system access, voyeurism, insider trading, espionage, kidnapping, arson, threats against government officials, robbery, among others. Good God Almighty. Okay, number 7. As president of Roll Off Digital Forensics, I lead a team of digital forensic examiners and support staff who specialize in investigating alleged internet-related crimes and digital evidence obtained from electronic sources. This is interesting considering they're just trying to keep out some text messages from these girls. Are we saying they faked them? Manipulated the dates on their phones and the times? What are we doing here? This is going to be interesting to see where these arguments go, guys. My legal brain is just turned on right now by the stuff coming down in the legal matters of like right now, I see Lori Daybell as a defense attorney. Lori, the defendant, is not even there right now in my eyes. Maybe midway through trial, but right now the defense attorney is on my mind. Like sometimes I geek out over the legal shit, where they're going to go with this stuff, because that's what matters when it comes to the end, right? I have been retained as a digital forensic examiner to assist Ann Taylor, Esquire, and the defense team in the Idaho versus Brian Koberger case. I have reviewed the documents titled DM 11.13 bubble format and BM 11.13. I'm sorry, I was thinking bubble format, which contain data extracted from mobile devices used by individuals identified as DM and BM. You mean BF. Unless they're not looking at Bethany's phone there. They're looking at somebody else. There's no BM. The documents reflect periods of activity on the mobile devices that would require user interaction with the device for them to occur. These documents reflect periods of activity on the mobile devices that would require user interaction with the device for them to occur, specifically for the date of November 13, 2022. BM, that's Dylan's daddy, Brent. Interesting. What did I just stumble? And I'm gonna have my head's gonna go down a rabbit hole. Y'all gotta pull me off. Joe, pull me off the ledge. The documents. I just figured. I can't believe I didn't put that together. Like, who's BM? That's her dad. Duh. The documents include artifacts and content demonstrating a variety of users' interactions, including incoming and outgoing native text messages, incoming and outgoing Snapchat messages, artifacts indicated by the application identifier com toyo group picabo. What the hell? Have y'all ever heard of that website? What is it? Incoming and outgoing Snapchat message artifacts indicated by the application identifier com dot toyo pa group dot peekaboo. Is that some kind of program that keeps chat or captures all those Snapchats that go away or something? I don't know. Y'all, somebody tell me what are y'all thinking in the chat so far? Are y'all talking about the weather still? Look, my weather's finna get it on like Donkey Kong. Come next month, I'll be good to go. March is just never you don't ever know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolates. I don't know if it's gonna be cold and wet and gray or windy or sunny. I just don't know in March. Okay. Creation, modification, and deletion of multimedia files such as images and videos. Application usage logs showing when specific apps were opened and closed. Internet browsing. See, now my AT&T records have been left the building, and I want to know about these phone messages between Dylan and her daddy. What did she say that we haven't seen yet? And what can this, you know what I mean? I don't know. Why does that intrigue you at all, Joe? Or you don't care? You can be honest.
No, I'm so far at the 35,000 foot level on this thing that I just.
Oh, you don't have a thought on an expert though coming in to weigh on some text between this girl and her daddy though? I mean, no, not even a thought. What do y'all think in chat? What do you guys think about this? With this information we just read now? Yeah, exactly. I got to dive in some more now, Forrest, because I'm gonna have to go back and review because all it said in the previous documents that we know of is that she did place a message. I don't think it was a call to her dad, was it? Bethany is the one that called her dad. I believe that Dylan had text exchange with her dad, but we will go back and review those documents just to be sure. Yeah, curious.
Well, this expert is saying he has reviewed documents.
Well, he's reviewed the messages. You can believe that. He's a digital
Right.
forensic examiner. So
Right.
he says, yeah, he reviewed the documents titled DM 1113. So that's going to be the date. That's in a bubble format. And then BM 1113, her dad, same date, same kind of format. They contain data extracted from mobile devices used by individuals and identified as DM and BM. So they must have also digitally downloaded her dad's phone.
Okay, so he apparently found something that's going to help the defense.
Well, I don't know if it'll help them because I don't know what the message contained. Do you know what I mean? I think what they're trying to do is they really need to establish reasonable doubt against Dylan as a witness. Right, and they're already going after that because we know that the girl was highly intoxicated that night. She was drunk. We know now because of these documents how much she had to drink and what she had to drink. So Anne can only go after her credibility, and showing what she has shown in those text messages didn't show the girls in like the perfect light. Let's be honest. Not knowing what was happening in the home around them and all those things that she was doing. So that was it. But is there something, I don't think, incriminating? You know,
Right.
there's a theory out there, that
One.
Dylan did this, Dylan did the 8-hour cleanup, all these, they weren't even in. I know what people are saying out there on other creators are telling people that these girls weren't even at home that night. They left, went to a hotel. They're absolutely guilty. You got all that's out there right now being said, but I don't think that, right? I've always had a
Well,
problem.
even
Go ahead.
so, it's either third-party suspect being Dylan, or it's going to be used to impeach her, which is
Hmm.
fine, but that still doesn't change the state's underlying evidence, which is
Right.
mostly the DNA on the knife sheet. But
Yeah, I
it's
don't know if it's
interesting.
gonna, I don't know if it would be used to impeach her. Did she lie about something, or did she say certain things alluding to the, maybe she was not as afraid, or maybe she was more afraid. Who the hell knows anymore, right? But these are specifically concerning the communication between her dad and her. So, and then reading everything he can do here, what did he see in these phone records, and why has the defense wanted to try to keep them out? You know what I mean? I'm going to go back and look at the motion in limine again and reread it, because the state was wanting to bring those in. So it's going to be, I don't know. We'll have to see. And let's see. I thought I saw a comment. It right here. Okay, thank you, CH. It is often linked to a Snapchat or to Snapchat, as Peekaboo was originally the name of Snapchat. Oh, before it was rebranded. I did not realize that. Okay. So that must be like a website or a site that they retain a lot of that information in, that people think will go away. That's because if you Snapchat somebody a message, it can disappear, or you can set your settings to make it stay, whatever, however long you want it. Um, a lot of folks have it set to disappear. So where do you think it goes once it disappears? You think it's gone forever? Like they say, if we delete our, like, look at Stefan Stearns over there trying to reset that phone not once but twice, it did not work. People
Well,
try
we
to,
know that,
you delete shit from your phone, they find it, right? So how come they can't recover Snapchat stuff? It's not encrypted like a Telegram app.
the extraction of Libby's phone did not have that Snapchat photo of Abby in it, or at least the extraction expert couldn't find it in the phone.
Not on her on the camera roll, right?
Yeah.
Well, there, and now I've looking at more stuff involved with that. When you take a photo with your Snapchat versus like me, I can open my Snapchat app and take a picture of my son on the bridge and snap it instantly. Or I can take it with my camera phone, then go upload it to Snapchat. Most of the time, they're directly on Snapchat snapping that photo. That explained why it wasn't on the camera roll of the actual phone. It was taken with the camera with the Snapchat stuff.
Well, they didn't find it anywhere. They could
That's
not
what they
find that
said. They
Snapchat
said they
photo.
could.
Yes.
But then again, remember, they also gave that phone back to the family for a period of time and then said, oh, wait, we need it back. We're going to run some more tests on that phone. So I can't even trust anything about that phone. You know what I mean? When was something deleted from that phone and why? Will we ever fucking know with that phone? I don't think we will. I don't think that phone was handled right from the get-go, especially after you watch the way phones should be handled during an investigation. And you don't give it to the family and then say, oh, wait, we made a mistake, give it back. Now we got more to do. Because we've already learned that the minute they take your phone, it goes into the power off mode and into a Faraday bag to shut down all communication with that phone so it preserves. Because if you let it stay on and you keep it outside of a Faraday bag, then it's starting to interact with the Wi-Fi's all around it and other phones nearby. People can try to, they even had to tell Jennifer Soto to stop messaging Maddie's phone. We've got that phone in lockdown. It's turned off. We're preserving it. She was trying to access Google accounts and they could see her doing that. And they had to contact her and tell her, stop it. And she's like, oh, I was just trying to look to see if I could find, whatever. Really, what were you looking for, Jen? But they had to make her stop accessing this phone. It's in a preserved state right now. So I don't know. That will be an interesting piece of information to keep our eyes on. I saw his name the other day because I've been trying to put together some information on the defendants our experts, like I did with the Koberger experts. With the state's experts. So I've got a running list of the defense experts, and I've got information on a lot of them. So as I see their names, I start gathering stuff on them because I still want to put together. I like to take a look at the experts. I like to know who they are, what their background is, because all that absolutely matters to me when I'm considering the weight of an expert. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let me see if this one has anything on it, guys. No, that one did not. All right. Defendant's motion to seal defendant's objections to the state proposed questionnaire. And it's just a 2-page formality asking to seal those questions. Another one that is motion to seal exhibits to defendant's supplemental response request regarding expert witnesses at the penalty phase. And they're just wanting to seal the documents on those guys. Let's see. The state's motion to seal their response to the defendant's questionnaires. Order sealing defendant's objections to the state's questionnaires. Good Lord, y'all. Order sealing exhibit C. Order sealing defendant's supplemental response to the witness list. Orders are sealing. So that was really it. There was we already looked at all those. Okay. So that was the only interesting one besides the rest being just formalities to submit and seal. Now, throughout the day, a couple more things may come down, but I'll have to go look at the case summary in a little bit and see if there's anything new on it. Thank you for coming in, Carol. We appreciate it. Good luck. Well, real happy. There's a lot of very unlogical people on these YouTube streets, right? Some of the stuff being said out there is insane. But what are we going to do? Oh, honey, they've tried. They have tried to get that indictment thrown out very early on in this case, and it was a no-go. They tried everything they could to make the prosecution look horrible, the grand jury, everything. They did. They fought hard to try to get that indictment thrown out, and was not successful. She's already given it her best shot. This case is way, way crazy. I'm also putting together a good little list of past hearings. One day we're going to just kind of go over some of those because we're leading up to the trial. I got to go check something on the stove. I'm slow cooking something today. But while I do that, let me actually start a video for you guys so I can walk away and not just leave you on dead air, because I can't stand no dead air. Okay, so I thought, with this stuff coming down about his newly diagnosed conditions, autism, the neuro stuff, and can't walk correctly, and all, the things they're saying that he has physically wrong with him now, as well as mentally wrong with him. We all know that he, apparently he was very high functioning at the least, because he has a great college career, let's put it that way. I don't know how much he's actually worked, because the few jobs he had in high school he wasn't very good at and didn't have it very long. And so he's always been about school. All the way up until 27 years old when he went to Washington State to attend more school, right? So I thought, we're going to take a look into his mind. What makes this man tick? Where'd he come from? What'd he do? All the things, So we're going to go over a few things I have found in articles, but also put together a few things for you guys about the differences in his studies. And we're going to take a look at some particulars about his studies as well. That would, and explore basically it's some of the stuff that DeSales has out there that they do. Oh my goodness. Saw some of this stuff like a long time ago, but I have not reviewed it in a really long time. So when I started researching it again, I was like, man, I forgot all this was out there. If it interests me, hopefully it'll interest you guys. So, yeah, he had a career in school. Exactly. And then stayed at home with mom and dad the entire time until he moved, to Washington a few months before the crimes. So what does that say? Thank you, Forrest. I appreciate that. Okay, this is like a little piece on criminal justice. Hold on. Sorry, I had to get my... Criminal justice is what he was studying at DeSales, and he was also continuing his studies in criminal justice once he got over to WSU, criminology and criminal justice. And we're going to take a look really quick at what criminal justice is. And I'll be right back while it's playing. I did share the screen. I just got to hit play. All right, here we go.
We are the world's largest university press.
We are over
6,000 people
worldwide
na nakaaabot sa bawat sulok ng mundo.
97 भाषाओं में.
We are part of Oxford University and we are active in education, research and the learning of English.
Education gives the children a wider perspective on life. It's a joyous process and it should continue throughout life.
What rewards me is seeing my children grow, taking them on that journey, and they become these independent thinkers.
Off to school we go.
There are billions of people looking to learn English in order to improve their lives.
Oxford just does not publish books and then forget all about education.
How do we teach them?
They make sure that the teachers are catered with what they actually require in order to help the books to the maximum potential.
We work a lot on the passion of teaching and also on the content and the pedagogy.
When one thinks about OUP, you think about excellence and education, and these are the two descriptors of the university as well. The press helps to project the university internationally, writing books that influence political debates, intellectual debates, educational debates.
It is very important for new ideas and new research to be published and made known.
Excellence is something that I don't want to compromise on, and I found through working with OUP that they don't compromise on it either.
OUP has an outstanding reputation, and I think they're hugely well respected.
The digital transition is going to be defining for our sector. By working in partnership, we can bring understanding of pedagogy and research that can be adapted to a digital environment.
We work with big tech companies, developers, and others to make sure that the rich tapestry of language is reflected in people's digital lives.
It's not just about making interfaces look great. It's more about understanding how this final user are going to use this product.
The fact that probably somewhere there's an iota of difference that we are able to make, that drives us. And
this is the wrong video. I come back in and I'm like, what's going on here? And then I noticed your comments, guys. Hold on. I don't know what happened there. Y'all probably thought, what the hell, Salty? What are you doing here? Don't ask me, y'all. I might be just totally lost. Okay, let me see. Where did it go? Did I have the wrong
When she
thing?
said, when people think OUP, and I was like, I've never thought OUP before.
I saw that comment first. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? And I saw the others behind it, and I'm like, oh, okay. All right, here's what we're supposed to be watching. All right, here we go.
My name's Julian Roberts and I teach criminal justice at the University of Oxford. I've authored the very short introduction to criminal justice. Here are 10 points you need to know about criminal justice. First, the criminal justice system, unlike the healthcare system where there's a single goal, the welfare of the patient, criminal justice has multiple and often competing aims and objectives. So it has to attend to the needs and interests of the crime victim, at the same time balancing that with the rights of the defendant to a fair trial. Second, there are two primary goals, effectively, in the criminal justice system: to prevent crime and to punish offenders when they have been convicted of a crime. Of these two goals, one's a lot easier to achieve than the other. It's very easy to punish somebody by restricting their liberty in various ways or fining them. But preventing crime is quite difficult for the criminal justice system, and the reason for that is that the causes of the crime lie outside the reach of the criminal justice system. Thirdly, case attrition is an issue in the criminal justice system, and by that we mean the dropout of cases as they proceed through the criminal justice system. So only a minority of crimes are actually reported to the police. The police only lay a charge in a minority of the crimes that are reported to them, and so on. So at the end of the day, a sentencing court is imposing sentence in only a very small cases of all offenders in the society. Fourth, crime, of course, varies enormously from trivial crimes to the most serious intentional taking of human life. But offenders also vary, their motivations, the ways in which they commit their crimes, their levels of culpability and harm. And the consequence of that is that the criminal justice system needs discretion. Professionals, whether they're police officers, prosecutors, sentencing judges, or parole boards, need discretion to respect and to respond to the individual circumstances and the huge variation in criminal conduct and criminal offenders. Fifth, offenders vary greatly in their circumstances, but there are certain categories of offender that we treat differently, and for good reason. Young offenders are a good example of this. Young offenders are different from adults. They haven't developed to the same extent, and any intervention in their lives is going to have much more serious consequences. So criminal justice systems around the world treat young offenders very differently. Many people don't understand the importance of that. Six, the criminal law, of course, applies equally to everyone, but the criminal justice system pays more attention to some individuals and groups in society than others. Visible minorities in Western nations are far more likely to be stopped by the police, are far more likely to account for prison admissions, and this is one of the most important and pressing problems confronting Western criminal justice. 7, criminal justice systems vary enormously in the way that they punish offenders. So, for example, if you're convicted of a serious crime in Germany, resulting in, let's say, 1 year in prison, that same crime, that same criminal conduct would probably get you 10 years in prison in the United States. 8, many people think that prison's the answer to crime, and for certain offenders it is, it must be. But placing somebody in prison for a year costs about the same as placing them in a nice London hotel. So we have to be very careful in who we send to prison and for how long, simply because it costs so much money. 9, it's an unfortunate reality that prisons in Western societies generally make people worse. They go to prison, they're deprived of their families, they lose their employment, and we're not very good at retraining them and rehabilitating them. 10, when people are sent to prison, in some countries they serve every day of the prison sentence inside. This doesn't work very well. The best prison regimes are those that allow offenders to apply for and to serve the last portion of their sentence in the community, where they can be assisted and supervised to ensure that they don't reoffend and that they make a smooth and orderly transition back to open society.
Be safe, real happy. I always used to love when I was driving, I always listened to somebody in the car. Always. If it was anybody live, I'd find somebody to watch on the replay. All right, guys, that was a little bit there on criminology, or I'm sorry, criminal justice. We're going to read a couple of articles before we move into something else. Joe had to step away for a moment. He'll be back in a minute. Let me pull up my folder here. Okay. Okay, this is an article that came out. It was been out. Came out in 2023, so it's an older article. You guys can see everything okay, I hope. And it was titled, "Who is Brian Kohberger, the criminology graduate charged with the Idaho College murders?" Brian Kohberger became a household name across America when police swooped on his parents' home in December and arrested him for the brutal murders of 4 University of Idaho students. Mr. Kohberger, then a PhD criminology student at Washington State University, was accused of stabbing to death Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Sandra Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin in an off-campus student rental home in Moscow, Idaho on the 13th of November. The victims' loved ones and those following developments in the quadruple murder case went from weeks of near silence from law enforcement to the bombshell news of accused killer's arrest 6 weeks later. Since then, people from Mr. Kohberger's past, though shocked, have built a picture of a bullied loner who overcame addiction. Meanwhile, fellow students from his time just over the Idaho border into Washington described a criminology zealot who creeped people out. Now take all that with a grain of salt, guys, as this is coming from people who they spoke with about this article. I don't know none of them personally. Bullying, addiction, and weight loss. For years before the vicious murders of the 4 University of Idaho students, the man now headed to trial for allegedly taking their lives was lauded for helping to save another one. And this is true. This has been out there for a bit. Mr. Kohberger had been working as a part-time security officer for Pleasant Valley School District, where his mother was also employed when a hall monitor, who was a grandmother, began having trouble breathing and losing consciousness. Security guard Luis Fuentes, according to the Pocono Record, dispatched Mr. Kohberger to retrieve the school AED as fellow staffers and emergency personnel attended to the coworker. Disaster was averted, but the incident still made local paper in small town Pennsylvania, where Mr. Kohberger grew up with his parents. Now, good morning, Brightwell. Welcome in. So we had heard about that incident because after he graduated high school, he did work part-time security, and he did work at the high school. And this lady had issues that day, and Kohberger gave her CPR and saved her life. Most of Mr. Kohberger's college courses have focused on criminality and the mind, though careers in education with an emphasis on psychology run in the family. I skipped telling you this part. Okay, Michael and Marianne are his parents. His sisters are Amanda and Melissa. I would mark one of the few times that Brian Kohberger's name was surfaced online until his arrest. Okay. And that's when they came up with the article about him saving someone's life. His mother worked as a paraprofessional at Pleasant Valley School District and was beloved by students. By all accounts, the type of woman who tells a former pupil that they can always call her after the death of a parent. Her 2 daughters, both older than Mr. Kohberger, both studied psychology at East Coast schools before finding work in the field. Melissa is a therapist in New Jersey, while Amanda is a counselor in Pennsylvania. Now, don't know how much truth is into any of all that, but we had heard that one of these sisters had lost her job not long after the arrest of Brian Koberger. I don't know if there's any truth. We'd never have been able to confirm that anywhere. She's never come out and spoke about it, but that's what allegedly had been said, which is not fair. I mean, you can't help what your brother is accused of, right? The Kobergers lived for years in effort in an unincorporated community in Monroe County with a population of under 2,500, just minutes from Pleasant Valley School District, where the children also graduated from high school. Michael Koberger was a maintenance worker, and the family seemed unremarkable in the quiet community 90 miles north of Philadelphia. Brian used to mow the neighbor's lawn. Mr. Koberger was overweight and bullied in high school, then lost 100 pounds in his senior year. And more than just his appearance changed, according to his friends. Now, his friend Casey here knew him well, and she's done numerous interviews, and the things that she says has never changed. You know what I mean? He was rail thin, Casey Arntz, who hung around in the same groups as Mr. Koberger. Actually, her and her brother both did. It was after that weight loss that a lot of people noticed a huge switch. She says Mr. Koberger bullied her brother, a member of the same social circle, at times even putting her sibling in chokeholds. When Brian would get kind of angry with him, he would gaslight him and get physically aggressive, she said. Her brother Thomas told the Daily Beast that Mr. Koberger liked to point out his flaws and insecurities and would do so all the time. He would go after my intelligence, the 26-year-old said. He would basically insinuate that I'm kind of slow-witted and that I'm forgetful and that I lack the intelligence to be his friend. The aggressive streak was described by other friends as well. Nick McLaughlin, 26, attended classes at both Pleasant Valley High School and Monroe's vocational school with Mr. Koberger. The vocational school is where he was taking the law enforcement class that he was kicked out of. The Daily Beast, he told the Daily Beast the murder suspect had been interested in becoming a police officer and took criminal justice courses. His interest in law enforcement was apparent from one former teacher told the outlet, describing Mr. Koberger as passionate about criminal justice. There's a photo of him being arrested. That was in Pennsylvania, being extradited back to Idaho. He was just a regular 12th grader, had a few friends, was a good student, she said. I thought he would become a police officer or corrections officer. I don't think corrections officer was his final goal. I don't think that would have been good enough. He liked to watch movies about police and asked me the next day if I'd seen it. It was more than a hobby for him. He was always asking questions. In addition to criminology, Mr. Koberger had new interests after the weight loss, Mr. McLaughlin said. Boxing. He always wanted to fight somebody, he said. He was bullying people. We started cutting him off from our friend group because he was 100% a different person. Mr. Koberger's changing behavior included drug abuse. Another friend, Bree, told 48 Hours, claiming that he began using heroin. She said that people were not his strong suit. Joe, yeah, right? He's probably trying to teach them a thing or two about their job, right? Like, come here, let me tell you something. Let me tell you what's up, mister. I studied this in school and you're not doing it right. Overcoming addiction and, people were not his strong suit, she said. You just saw him becoming more self-destructive, said Bree. He really stayed secluded. overcoming addiction and interest in criminology. In a February interview with the Idaho Statesman, high school friends and acquaintances of Koberger's addressed previous reports that he was bullied because of his weight. They told the newspaper that Mr. Koberger found in marijuana a way to cope with the constant targeting that he suffered as a teenager before he escalated to heroin addiction. I feel he was looking for validation. That's why he fell into that crowd, Arts told the Statesman. And honestly, it's why he fell into the whole drug scene. Ms. Arntz recalled an instance in which Koberger asked her to drive him to pick up needles for his aunt because her car had broken down. In reality, Koberger was buying drugs from a dealer, Arntz claimed. He literally used me to get it. I was freaking out and not happy I had heroin in my car and didn't know it. Following high school, however, many believed Mr. Koberger seemed to be doing better. He told Ms. Arntz that he went to rehab, according to the Daily Beast, and he earned an Associate of Arts degree in psychology from Northampton College in 2018. So in 2018, he did graduate Northampton Community College there in Pennsylvania, and he did graduate with that Associate of Arts degree in psychology. So he was starting, took that psychology, in the community college there. That's what his mom, his line of work was basically. Both of his sisters were following that line of work. He was telling me that he wanted to get sober, that he was getting sober, Bree told 48 Hours, and he wanted to let me know, I'm going to do better, or be better. Ms. Arntz last saw Koberger at a wedding in 2017. Where she gave him a hug and told him, "You look so good. I'm so proud of you." There's actually a picture out there of him from that wedding circulating. I don't even have it on the computer to bring up and show you guys. He's all in his little suit and, looking normal. Mr. Koberger continued his studies at DeSales University in Center Valley, Pennsylvania, where he graduated in 2020 with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's in criminal justice last year. Teachers and classmates have described him as bright, focused, and nearly obsessed about criminology. Criminology is what makes them tick, right? What makes them tick. Interesting course of study to be obsessed with. Michelle Bulger, an associate professor at DeSales, taught Mr. Koberger and described him as a great writer and brilliant student. In my 10 years of teaching, I've only recommended 2 students to a PhD program, and he was one of them. He was one of my best students ever. Everyone is in shock over this. So in her 10 years, she's only recommended 2 of her students to go on to the program Koberger went on to, and he was one of those 2. If he's really guilty of these crimes, what a freaking waste, right? Of good intelligence that could have done really a lot of good. For what? I bet you are wondering what made yourself tick, because I really want to know. After Koberger's graduation from DeSales, he left Pennsylvania and crossed the country to pursue a PhD at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, just across the state border from the University of Idaho in Moscow. He was also a teaching assistant at WSU's Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology. There, he sort of creeped people out, fellow grad student B.K. Norton told the New York Times, describing a quiet, intense demeanor. She also alleged that he made comments about the LGBTQ community that made some uncomfortable. Wow. He stared. Oh, that face. He stared and didn't talk much, but when he did, it was very intelligent, and he needed everyone to know he was smart, Ms. Norton said. Another WSU grad student in the program with the Koberger, Benjamin Roberts, echoed her sentiments about the suspect's academic arrogance. He would describe things in the most complicated, perhaps academic way possible. Roberts told 48 Hours, elaborating, it was like he was trying to convince people that he knew what he was talking about. Mr. Koberger lived in an unassuming Pullman apartment complex while studying and working as a TA. Was also continuing to pursue his dream of working in law enforcement. The affidavit unsealed earlier this year by Idaho courts revealed Koberger applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department. And, that job went to a girl, not him. Koberger wrote in his essay, which probably shocked the shit out of him. Koberger wrote in his essay he had an interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. The department did not respond to the independent's request regarding Mr. Koberger ever got the internship. We know now he did not. But it was interesting that he would write that specifically. I've known that for a long time, that he wrote that in there, that his interest was in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data. And isn't that what his case is based on, besides the sheath with some DNA on it? Other than that, we got exactly what he wanted to do for these rural departments. And that's interesting stuff that sells that he would learn about as well. He was committed, it seems, to thoroughly exploring the inner workings of the criminal mind. He was committed to thoroughly exploring the inner workings of the criminal mind. I wonder if he was really obsessed with trying to figure his own self out. I would be, because I'm like that analytically. I'll be like, what's wrong with you? Let's work this out. Like, I'll work it out in my head for 3 days. Oh, okay, what's wrong with you? Go fix it, right? Is that what he was trying to do? Was he doing one of my 3-day what's wrong with you things? I don't know. He could be completely innocent. I have no clue. Well, that's not, I kind of do have a clue, but He was committed, it seems, to thoroughly exploring the inner workings of the criminal mind, posting a survey to Reddit that asked for participants to provide information to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. Now, we've all heard that particular Reddit survey was part of his, studies and thesis and all this, but some were saying, no, maybe not so fast. But we don't know. Nobody can, it's just armchair people taking guesses. So I have no clue, but I've seen it. It is truly factually his post, and he does ask a lot of questions, but it also appears that it could very well be for school, because it did come through the school account. So, I'm just saying. It was very weird, the questions he was asking, things like, what did you do to prepare for the crime? What did you do after the crime? What are steps you took to prevent yourself from being discovered, as the perpetrator? All these types of questions were in that survey. And that was found pretty early on by armchair detectives. So we can find things. Asked for participants to provide information to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. Koberger seemed... I almost lost my place. Let me get it to the top. Koberger seemed fastidious about his efforts to understand the inner workings of the criminal mind and reportedly applied that same attitude to his diet. A former aunt... This has never been proven either, but this is what she did state, and it was always kind of crazy to me. A former aunt told the New York Post that Mr. Koberger's food regimen was very, very weird and went above and beyond being vegan. Relatives had to buy new pots and pans because he would not eat from anything that ever had meat cooked in them, she said, adding that he seemed very OCD, an obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, we know, according to his defense attorney now, that he's got chronic OCD. But this aunt pointed this out, a long time ago. And apparently they went to visit this aunt at her home, and she couldn't cook him any vegan meals in her pots and pans, because she had cooked meat in them previously. I'm not a vegan, so I don't know how deep that shit goes. But, Yeah, so there you have that. Allegations of sexism and disciplinary action at WSU. Around the time of the murders, Mr. Koberger was facing disciplinary action in his teaching assistant's job at WSU. The 29-year-old began working as a teaching assistant in the criminology department in August as part of his graduate program. The minute he graduated DeSales in 2022, he was, boom, in Washington. But within a month, he was already under investigation by the university because of behavioral problems and a sexist attitude towards women. Within a month of being there, if there's anything true, they already know this. They've got the WSU records. So if this is any truth behind it, they have the documentation on it, and I would love to see it. I would know, finally get to the bottom of if any of that was actually true, and was this happening. The timeline portion part is important. Did something trigger him to, I need to move on my thoughts, what I want to do to people, because this is all coming down around the same time. It was like his little world was collapsing around him all of a sudden. And for the first time being out on your own, a month later, you're already having serious issues. That's pretty problematic. Earlier this year, the outlet obtained a detailed timeline of his issues in the department, revealing that Mr. Koberger was warned multiple times about his behavior and was brought into several meetings with professors due to their concerns. His attitude towards women was cited as key concern. Now, whatever got him kicked out of that program at the vocational school where he was doing the law enforcement program, it was to do with a female student and the way he was treating her. It was to the point where it got him not just a disciplinary action taken or a talking to even occurred. You're out of the program. That bad, out of the program. So here we are, a month into this new job, and you're already under investigation for being rude to women. Grading the women that he taught differently to the men. Sexist attitude towards females he interacted with at the school. In his brief 4-month stint as a teaching assistant, Koberger also reportedly got into multiple altercations with one of the professors, Professor John Snyder. If I'm not mistaken, I think he came out and spoke early on, but then he just went silent. Like, he didn't say a lot, but then he just went dead silent. Let's see. I'm reading comments, guys. I just want to make sure I don't miss out on what y'all are saying over here.
So feisty, you shouldn't get kicked out of a program. Belligerence, that's a little more forward, a little more confrontational, right?
Yeah.
Feisty, I don't have a problem with. Belligerent, I do, and if it continues escalating, then yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, from what we've been hearing, and all the media reports that first came out about all of this, that's exactly what was going on. Like, they talked to him and it would continue. They talked to him again and it continued, to the point where he was now being really, your job's on the line kind of thing, right? And we're not positive about the time. Some are saying that he may have been gotten actually fired right before those crimes. Some said no, but it was really right after the crimes when he technically got fired. But this dude was on his way out. And if he had lost that ride to college, if he lost his TA job, his ride to college was done. And we saw where his parents took out that second mortgage on the house. You know that information there. And we were speculating, was because of the timing, was that to pay for this college? So you're not even there that long and you start having these increasingly, but his behavior only escalated. Let's see. The first altercation reportedly took place on September 23rd, and he was called in to meet with Professor to discuss his behavior on October 3rd. Okay, now remember, November 13th is when the crimes happened. But his behavior only escalated with reports of him becoming increasingly feisty, belligerent, and getting into arguments with professors in the run-ups to the murders. On October 21st, Professor Snyder emailed Koberger telling him he had failed to meet the expectations he had outlined in their previous discussion. On November 2nd, 11 days before the murders, Koberger reportedly met with the professor to discuss an improvement plan for his behavior. So that was 11 days before the crimes. He's in there discussing an improvement plan on his behavior. And nobody, all these professional people, all these college professors, all these people in his life, nobody ever suspected you might have autism, Mr. Koberger, until Ann Taylor come along. Interesting. I noticed his weird behaviors, but I got made fun of for pointing them out. Lordy, lordy. In the aftermath of the slayings, the university continued to note his concerning behavior. Mr. Koberger attended a meeting with the professor about the improvement plan on December 7th, before getting into yet another altercation with him 2 days later. Now, that was after the crimes. So that was on December 7th, and then the 9th. The professor condemned his behavior, writing to the accused killer that it was apparent that you have not made progress regarding your professionalism. Now, don't think that the state don't have this email exchange, because they have WSU records. It's in the search warrants. On December 19th, just over 1 month from the murders, Mr. Koberger was ultimately fired from his WSU teaching post, December 19th. Now, we're hearing that local authorities didn't even hear the name Koberger till December 19th. Yet WSU officers found that car back in November, and I'm still a little irritated about that, but nobody wants to talk about that either. Like, oh, that's not important. I think it is. Got a problem with y'all finding a car. Y'all all been boloing, and Moscow doesn't know it's sitting across the state line for a whole freaking month. I got issue with that for some reason. But now, anyway. So December 19th, it was a big day for the Koberger stuff. Phil Weiler, the vice president at WSU, told The Independent back in February that the university could not discuss a student's records. Brian Koberger received an appointment as a teaching assistant at WSU during the fall of 2022 semester. It is typical for students to receive a TA or similar appointment as part of their PhD program. Koberger does not currently have a teaching assistantship, and he is not currently enrolled at WSU. Well, not anymore. Information concerning a student's teaching assistantship is considered a student record. The Federal Family Education Rights and Privacy Act prevents universities from discussing students' records. As a result, I'm unable to comment on Mr. Koberger's experience as a teaching assistant. In the aftermath of the murders, following the murders, the classmates said Koberger continued attending classes but seemed more upbeat and willing to carry on a conversation. Thumbs up, I'm good to go now. I released all that tension. Y'all won't have no more problems out of me. Wow. And in mid-December, Koberger then drove across country with his father in his white Hyundai Elantra, getting stopped twice in Indiana. Indiana finally does something correctly, but they let him go. Before returning to his parents' home, Pennsylvania. He was arrested there on December 30th and extradited to Moscow to face the charges. His lawyers have claimed that Koberger is innocent and wants to clear his name. His family released a statement expressing their condolences to the victims' families while urging a presumption of innocence on part of their son. Many in Mr. Koberger's orbit expressed shock at his alleged involvement in the crime. Others from his past were not so sure. He was mean-spirited, Thomas Arntz told the Daily Beast. He was a bully. I never thought he would do something like that, but at the same time, it doesn't really surprise me. On Monday, May 22nd, Koberger refused to enter a plea in Latah County, with his attorney saying he was standing silent on the charges, which is something typical to do in Idaho. The unusual response prompted the judge to enter a not guilty plea. See, the media calling it that unusual response instead of explaining to the people that that was a standard thing to do in Idaho. Lori Vallow did it. Skylar Meade, Ann's new death penalty case guy, he's done it. It's pleading no contest in Florida. I didn't do it unless you can prove it. So anyway, that caused a lot of speculation because of that standing silent issue. The judge had set Koberger's trial date for October 2nd of 2023, following requests by Koberger's attorneys and the state. So the original trial date, y'all, was October 2nd of 2023. And we were ready. Boy, we were ready. And now look, 2025, and we're still not there yet. But in a shock move, Koberger waived his right to a speedy trial, causing the trial to be delayed indefinitely. And how many times have we now heard defendants say, "You forced me to waive my right to a speedy trial because it's going to take me 3 years to get through this discovery you got against me." They're all trying that now, every one of them. A hearing about cameras, that already took place, and we already know the results. So anyway, that was a good article with a lot of information all at one time. Y'all, if y'all could keep up. It tells you what his, yes. Oh yeah, he had some consistent chronic bad behavior. He sure did.
Can you imagine being HR at WSU and having to deal with those reports as they come in?
Yeah, and dealing with him. We saw his interaction with the cop at the red light over the law on how you're supposed to approach the damn red light. So can you imagine what he's in there arguing with them professors about? I could only, I have no, I mean, what in the world, dude? It's,
yeah, and those are, and I wonder if like they had to sit down with the professor and with the HR person, because when I managed a department one time, we had an employee that tested positive for weed on a test, on a piss test, and I had to take disciplinary action. The company policies and procedures said I had to take, so we had to sit down with HR and go over it and come up with a plan. And it was like one of the most awkward meetings I've ever had. And like,
yeah,
it doesn't even come close to this level of behavior that he's exhibiting.
right. And you're dealing with a grown man at this point, right? He was 27,
Yes.
28 years old, well educated by this point already, and he's exhibiting these behaviors, he's probably a handful to deal with, you know what I mean? But you got to follow it. You can't just say, "Well, I feel bad for you, I'll let you keep your job." I mean, you have to comply and you have to follow rules. You can't break them because you're Koberger, you know what I mean? And if he was really having issues with the females in the class, and there's any truth behind the issues with the female in the police class in high school, that is a pattern of behavior to me with women.
Absolutely.
And I don't know that if that female cop, because we haven't seen the other body cam footage of his interaction with the male cop yet. That's coming into court. And we've looked at that at Farm Road stop over there where they've got, where the girls were all hanging out around the shopping center. We haven't even seen that. That was less than 2 miles from the house. The only one we've seen is the one where he interacts with that female officer. I wonder, though, if she had been a male officer, would he had been so questiony about the law. Do you know what I'm saying? You think he would have pressed it as much as he did with her? I don't know.
Well, he definitely acted irritated to being stopped by the cops in Indiana, the two male officers. I mean, he was
Well,
like,
this is
"What?
true. That's true.
Yeah,
He did. He did. He didn't seem like he wanted to talk to them as much, though.
right."
With her, he was a little more talkative and a little more,
Argumentative. I would say argumentative.
yeah. And with the cops in Indiana, to me, it was like, tell me what you got to tell me, and let me get back on the damn road.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I go get my Thai food right now. Like he didn't,
Yeah.
because he kept looking at his dad. When his dad would go to talk, like conversate, because I feel like his dad's like down for a conversation with anybody. He kind of looked at his dad a couple of times, like, "Shut up, right? Just don't
Yeah.
engage." So,
But to the female cop, he was like, "Can you show me the state code?"
right, because that's what I'm saying. He seemed to be. Now, was it because if he's the guy and he's like, are these Indiana freaks stopping me because they suspect me? Am I being watched? I just need to get out of here. And that's why he didn't want to interact with them a lot? Or is it because they were guys? I don't, you know what I mean? That's what I don't know. Could it be both? I mean, if only people that know if it's him is him and God, right? So if he's sitting there and he knows I'm the killer, and here's a state trooper on the side of my car, and Daddy won't shut up, what was he thinking? It's like, was he on that one track mind? Just say what I got to say and get out of here.
Yeah.
He probably should have learned not to tailgate after the first stop. He wouldn't have got stopped a second time. 12 minutes down the road for the same exact offense. Or was he being followed like some news outlets were reporting very early on? That they even had a fixed wing plane watching his travels from Idaho to Pennsylvania. Because by the time he left Idaho, they knew who he was. So we've never been confirmed or denied that they were following him across country. Right? FBI's not going to tell us what they were doing. They don't even want us to know they had a copy of advanced timing reports with 3,800 phone numbers encompassed in them, but we know now. They don't want us to know the IgG techniques that they get. I get it. We don't maybe need to know everything, but I'm not so convinced they weren't following this guy, especially if he's on your radar as a suspect. Are you not going to follow that guy? What would you guys do?
On a quadruple homicide? Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on him, whatever it takes. I don't understand why 2 stops in Indiana.
Exactly. Never made sense to us either. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was the other point. I was looking at it. Okay, were these like validation checks, right? Stop that car, make sure this guy's in it, see what you can see within that car, and report it back to us. Doesn't take 2 back-to-back stops to do that, right?
Right.
I mean, that part didn't make any sense to me at all. So that's always been my, like, I don't know either way if it was true or not. It would make sense, because they even said they were tracking. It says in one of the documents, he was tracked they were tracking him via license plate readers, right? And Colorado captured him going through, like here in Florida, we had the Sun Pass, and if you go through, it's going to capture your license plate and all that good stuff. And so that's how they knew he was in the point in Colorado where he was at. The document states that's how they knew that. So were they just following card readers all over the country and trying to figure out, plot this guy out? Or were they just following him? I don't know. So I'm always so curious about that part.
Yeah, Forrest, I think you
Maybe.
risk like scaring him if you do back-to-back stops. Like you risk him
Make him
like,
raise his suspicion, right?
make him paranoid.
Yeah.
Which maybe why he got home and started throwing stuff away and putting it in the neighbor's trash.
Mm-hmm. He done got tipped off to maybe they really are on to me, because because let's face it, if he's the guy, he's known all along that sheath was left in that house, and he's known all along he's beaten his ass up over it. Did I get everything off that sheath? Because I'm telling you, if he's the guy, he thinks that sheath was spotless, but he's going to second guess himself in the back of his mind every single minute, including during that thumbs up picture. But did he have a plan of attack just in case? I don't think it worked with the DNA. It may work with some of this other stuff, but not with that DNA. They've pretty much conceded, the defense did in their filings, that their own expert can't dispute that that's Kohberger's DNA on there. Like, they can't attack the way it was collected. They can't attack the way it was produced, developed, all those things. They've looked at all of that, all the documentation, lab reports, all of that, and they concluded that they can't dispute that that's all accurate and that's his sheath. So Anne's like, okay, well then it must have been planted. All right, honey. And I haven't seen any documents come out about that yet. That's the second time that the defense has said those terms. They said it a year and a half ago. Jake Logston did in a big, huge Friday filing that come out last minute that everybody had all weekend to stew over, where he made the first implication that that sheath could have been planted. And I knew when I read it, it was straight out of social media. You could tell the dude had been watching social media. I was like, oh man, really? Okay, here we go. Nothing else about that until this recent filing. And I'm going to put together something on those particular filings, because I'm lumping together the filings that go together, right? So like I did the AT&T, that last show I did on that, and because it makes better sense if you have all of the original filings and you just go through them and see exactly what the arguments were. I like doing that when it's this far into the game, and sometimes I had to do that with Delphi a couple of times. You got to go, well, what was the basis of this argument again? You have to go back and you have to review. So that's where we are with that. Oh, sorry, guys. I want to get all this out of my way so I can see what the heck I'm doing here before I pull up the next thing to do. All right. Okay, we reviewed that. This is... Now, we read in that document, Firefly did a great job reading that paper that was in the document that Kohberger did, and it was from the DeSales paper he did. It was like a 12-page paper. I forgot it was an essay. The name of it's in here because I forgot what the name of it was. But you guys, I think you guys, most of you were here when we read that. It's in the documents. I probably should have grabbed that to pull up to show you guys, but we can do that. So I'll just go ahead and let me get this out of the way, and we'll just start reading the article here. Get all this stuff out of our way. My God, why do they do all this? Okay. I don't know what this is. Oh, that was ahead of the hearing. We don't need to watch that. All right. Okay. So DeSales University responded to a paper Brian Kohberger wrote that prosecutors intended to introduce as evidence during his murder trial. Now, remember, this is something that the prosecution did introduce into their filing. Okay. The assignment, a 12-page paper entitled Crime Scene Scenario Final, was included as an exhibit in a reply filed by the prosecution on Monday. Seriously? Get out of here. As far as I know, this was a typical assignment for students enrolled in the course, Caroline Stiegelman, Vice President of Marketing and Communications at DeSales, told Newsweek. Why it matters. Kohberger, 30, is accused of killing University of Idaho students Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin in an off-campus residence in Moscow, Idaho in 2022. Charged with 4 counts of murder and 1 count of felony burglary. Not guilty plea was put in on his behalf. And that's basically it. The paper details how to process a crime scene, starting with the section entitled Arriving at the Scene. How many of you guys were in here when we ran over that document? The meticulous way that he wrote that paper and all the stuff you're supposed to do. The header also contains the class code CJ361, which is identified as Forensic Investigation on the DeSales University website. The professor of the course is listed as Dave Sipe. I can confirm that Dave retired from his role at the end of 2023-2024 academic year. The paper describes a crime toolkit that should be used during the investigation of the scene, including gloves and face masks. And if she saw, and I'm telling y'all, there was a cleanup that occurred, people. Ann Taylor and Brian Kohberger have seen every single crime scene photo from within that home. You're going to tell me this guy's not going to notice if a cleanup occurred? He can't smell it, of course, he's not there. When I say can't tell, when they illuminate with the luminol, you can see the smear wipes, regardless of how much bleach that you could probably still smell 8 hours later was applied to the scene. If he thought for 1 second any sort of cleanup, even a smear on the floor, had occurred, they're bringing it up, and they haven't yet. Anything that is fiber-free and covers the mouth, hair, and overall body would be helpful in avoiding crime scene contamination, since hair, saliva, skin cells, and other bodily fluid or cells may be added to the scene, thus contaminating it, the essay writes. Or states, Senior Deputy Prosecutor Ashley Jennings said the state is seeking admission of the document into the evidence to show defendants' knowledge of crime scenes. And knowledge of would also be how to maybe not leave your own DNA behind. The filing comes after Kohberger's defense team asked prosecutors to be more specific about the evidence it intends to introduce from his DeSales student records. This disclosure is thousands of pages of documents that are not organized in any fashion. We've heard Ann say that. And then this is just stuff we already know. But it's interesting that DeSales come out and, had made a statement about it. Yeah, you remember that, Forrest? Okay. I have to go check the stove again.
What are you cooking for me?
Right now, I've got a 15 bean soup, and it's almost done, actually.
Oh, that sounds good.
My grandson, it is going to be good. I love that stuff. My grandson won't eat them because they're beans, but he wanted pork chops, so I'm making him pork chops tonight as well. But I was going to make those beans yesterday, but I slept all day. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I went out to eat instead. No. Anyway. All right, let me pull up something here from the playlist we can watch. And I've got a couple more articles to read we'll throw in, but I wanted to... Okay, no, get out of there. Some interesting stuff I have found here on DeSales University. We saw the professor speak about the criminal justice. There's actually quite a bit out there from DeSales University itself as to what they do. And we're going to go through some of these. I was just trying to see which one I was going to show you guys first. This one's going to be this one, I think. Okay. Get the screen up here. Now, this is straight from the DeSales University itself, not from a news agency or a YouTuber or none of that stuff. So this is coming straight out of their YouTube channel, actually.
If you're thinking about a career in law enforcement, or if you're in law enforcement, then check us out. At DeSales University, we have a Master's of Arts in Criminal Justice, and it has several components to it. The traditional in-classroom master's program. Digital forensics is an emerging field in law enforcement.
Digital evidence, media that may have evidentiary or probative value.
Computers, cell phones, evidence that might be found on those types of media.
And then examine those pieces of evidence or those devices in a forensically sound manner.
Another track we have is investigative forensics. study of criminology, theory and practice, forensic toxicology, and then also looking at the behavioral aspects within criminal justice. I mean, often people think of Behavioral Analysis Unit, FBI Quantico, right? Popular shows like Criminal Minds. Why do they do it? Who is it that does it? So it's an in-depth look at the behavior behind certain types of crimes.
You're getting practical instruction from people that are either currently in the fields that you desire to be in, or from people that have been in the field previously.
The experience that they bring from the field into the classroom.
There's a very specific inherent value in learning from someone who's still doing the work. The sales gave me the tools to figure out who I can be and who I want to be. And I think that if I was in a different situation, maybe at a different college, I don't necessarily know that I would have had those same opportunities. So I'm certainly grateful for that.
There was 4 purchases on his credit card that he did not.
Oops. All right. This moved into the next video, and this is how they do this is a criminal justice mock investigation, and this is giving us a look at some of the stuff that Kohberger would have studied and done and participated in while he was, studying at DeSales, because he walked out of there with a bachelor's degree, right? So he learned quite a bit. And there is a difference between criminology and criminal justice. They both focus on very different things. And the criminology part is where I think he was the most fascinated with. And that's what his continued studies were about, and what's making that criminal mind tick. But here they learn a lot about crime scene investigations, what not to do and what to do. And we know nothing else was found in that home to pertain to Brian Kohberger that we are aware of, except for that sheath with that DNA.
He didn't do the transaction, so we traced the IP address, and we believe that it's a classic case of identity theft here.
Put the siren on.
Who is it?
Police search warrant.
Go,
Hold up, stop. You can't come in my house. Stop.
We're here because we traced the IP to your house, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of where these purchases came from.
We have one of the stolen items that the suspect purchased, we recovered.
He purchased this stuff online, but he doesn't remember what it was.
Do you own a laptop at all?
I've owned them, yeah.
You know where the gift card is that we found?
It's in the kitchen.
So let's check that amount, see if it matches, and then see if we have any other stolen items.
You admit to swiping their credit cards and stealing the credit card numbers and using that to fund your gambling addiction?
So what if I rip off the credit card companies?
Mr. Jeff Thompson, you are under arrest.
Can't pull anything over you guys. Don't tell them anything. Don't tell them nothing.
The new academic lab.
Could y'all imagine being a part of that? I mean, knowing what we know and what this person is allegedly charged with, not allegedly, what he is charged with, that he allegedly did. And looking at this stuff though, is just it intrigues me. This is a part about their criminal justice digital lab at DeSales. I found this part to be pretty interesting. Now, remember the digital lab part, because it was seemed to be his focus.
Lab in the lower level of dueling halls, basically set up as a digital lab for criminal justice students. And what that means is we have new smartboard technology, we have new retractable computers that come up and down from the desks, and that really allows for more interactive academic experience.
As a criminal justice major with concentration in digital forensics, this classroom is really beneficial because the laptops have forensic software such as InCase and Celebrite that show.
Remember in that document we read a few minutes ago, they talked about the InCase and the Celebrite. So I guess that guy's had the same kind of training.
So students, this software is actually used in the field today. So, the students are getting the up-to-date software that, the professionals use, so, we can learn how to, solve crime, how to get evidence off of phones.
We basically designed this lab to mirror or model some of the tools that professional examiners use, both in the criminal justice field and in the civil field.
With the EnCase and the Celebrate and professionals showing them how to use them, you're not going to find that anywhere else.
Anything from computer analysis to forensics involving mobile devices. Those are all things that we're now capable of doing with our students in this lab.
You're getting, practical knowledge and hands-on training from professors who, do this in the field still today, so they're not just teachers.
It makes a little bit more of a difference when you can walk across the hallway and see, oh wow, this is how an actual criminal case would basically involve these techniques that I've learned across the hall.
The relationship between DeSales University and the Petzl Digital Forensics Lab is huge. There's no other school where you're going to get that type of, commitment from professionals. They come over, they guest speak to all of us, they show us techniques they use, things they've learned over the years, and they offer an internship. I did it the spring semester of my sophomore year, and it turned into a part-time job. You're getting the whole spectrum. You're seeing how professionals use the data and how you can help solve crime using technology.
.45 caliber casing.
Do y'all think that he may have learned how to manipulate things, or if he, okay, because we got to remember, keep in mind that phone was allegedly turned off between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. And we're, in the beginning of this case, people were like, he's so smart, he did this and this and this. Why take his phone? Why take his car? Well, if you drove a rental car, you're going to leave a paper trail that you rented a car. Kind of stupid. You're not going to borrow your friend's car. That's going to look suspicious. So just drive my own. But why take that phone? Because it would have been so easy to say, I left my phone at home. It was by the bed. I was 20 minutes away from the house by the time I realized I left it on my nightly drive and said, you know what, forget it. I'm okay. I know where I'm going. But that didn't happen. He took it with him. And then it goes offline for those hours, 3 to 5. Why? I always thought there's a reason. And then the alibi came out. Well, I'm over here driving around, and you can't, your phone data will prove my alibi right. And I thought, well, that's interesting that the state's phone data is going to prove that he wasn't in Moscow, that he was really over there in the countryside. That's interesting to me. He did it for a reason, but I can't figure out what the manipulation reason was for. We've heard Ann say in recent filings he was going the other direction. There's a 7-minute discrepancy about when that phone, turned off, or when it was seen on that camera, 2:47, 2:53, and we're like, okay, so he went one direction and turned the phone off, and then turned around and went back the other direction. Now it looks like my phone is still over here, but now my car is going this way. So prove that's my car and my phone. Prove my phone is going with that car. They can only do that for a certain point. Then the phone is off, then they can only rely on the car camera sightings all the way through town that are grainy. And a lot of people, because the PCA says was the phone, it led them to believe that the phone was in airplane mode or off. Okay, and then you go, well, how do they know that either one of those occurred? Because they got that first AT&T warrant and got that first call detail record. And the only ones that could get that sort of record at that point in time was the FBI, not the local authorities. Cyray might be right about that. And obviously he was, because they found 3,800 phone numbers around that home. But not one was Brian Kohberger's, because the phone was turned off. Or he left it in another location, or turned it off and put it in a Faraday bag, because he would absolutely know to put that phone in a Faraday bag to preserve that phone and stop all interactions with that phone. And that was something a lot of us speculated very early on in this case. Hey, did this dude use some sort of Faraday bag? Everybody's like, what's that? So we had to educate on what that was. And so, yeah, I'm just like, it intrigues the hell out of me, especially if he's the guy, because that's pretty crazy to go study all this stuff and then turn out to be what you turned out to be. I don't know.
And marker number 13.
We're starting a new program here at the Sales and Criminal Justice Department. It will be certification for the Act 120 program. What Act 120 is a Pennsylvania requirement for all municipal police officers. You would obtain this certification by attending a police academy somewhere in the state of Pennsylvania. What our program hopes to do is, in partnership with the Allentown Police Department, we are offering Act 120 to students who qualify both with us and with the Allentown Police. They will be able to attend the Allentown Police Academy during the spring semester of their senior year. Cost for the academy will be paid out of their spring tuition. What was happening in the past is students would graduate and then they would have to attend the academy, either if they're paying for it themselves or hoping to get hired by a department and have a department put them through. What this program offers is the opportunity for students who have that certification upon graduation to make them more marketable to the department because they are ready to start work immediately. There's not many universities in this area that offer this program. Sales is the only university in the valley that offers students as many opportunities as possible. This is a great opportunity because it will allow them to graduate with a 4-year degree and their police certification. So they can go to the police department and start right away. Having this certification is going to put them ahead of a lot of other applicants. Police jobs anywhere in Pennsylvania are difficult to get as it is. Anything they can do to put themselves ahead of the competition is going to make it easier for them to get a job.
Oops. It's kind of fascinating stuff. I would so do it. I would go take all those classes.
Maybe you should.
Nah, I don't feel like it now. I don't feel like it now.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It does. And I can't be so sure I'd want to get up and go do it every day.
Right.
Especially if I was told, oh, I got to get up and go do it. I'm like, no, I don't. That's just how I messed up. That's the only thing messed up about my brain. Don't tell me I have to, because I'm probably going to tell you, no, I don't. It's a choice. Everything's a choice. Not everything is, but I like it when it is. I like to live an uncomplicated life. Okay. I'm going to pull up an article to share. You guys still with me there in chat? Everybody's being quiet. Y'all just listening. We do have some people in here with us. We do. We are not alone. Okay. So let me bring up this article we're going to take a look at. Share my screen. And this comes out of Lehigh Valley Live.com. And Lehigh Valley is there in Pennsylvania. And that was actually the name of the high school that he went to. All right, Brian Koberger's life under the radar, walking in the footsteps of an alleged mass murderer. Brian Koberger flew under the radar for most of his life, growing up in the rural Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania and attending college in the Lehigh Valley region. The 28-year-old DeSales University grad is often described as an awkward, regular Joe. He's a regular Joe with a dead stare. Oh Lord, that's just not one of the articles that Ann cited. Is that y'all be careful? She'll cite y'all.
Okay, that's not a regular Joe. If you have a dead stare, you're not a regular Joe.
Right? That's kind of, yeah. What's that word?
They contradict themselves like right off the bat.
Yeah, this is so true. So again, with that dead stare, they don't want us to, they want the jury to understand why he has that by letting them know he has autism up front. The life I'm sorry. That life of flying under the radar ended for Koberger in December when he made national headlines for being named as a suspect, or being named a suspect in the murders of the four University of Idaho college students. I'm sure there's statistics out there on how many people passed by a murderer or how many people know a murderer. I don't and didn't until recently, said Josh Ferrero, who attended DeSales University. It's very concerning and it's very eerie and creepy. The nation was shocked on November 13th when Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Xander Kernodle were found stabbed to death in the home near the University of Idaho campus. Nearly 7 weeks later, Koberger was named as a suspect, and he was arrested at his parents' home in Albrightsville in Monroe County, which was in Pennsylvania. He had just driven across country with his father to be home for the holidays. LehighValley.com partnered with Long Crime Network in the network's week-long investigation into the life before the murders. The investigation led the team more than 2,000 miles from the mass murder scene in the mountains of Idaho to the Pocono Mountains, lurking around college campuses in Lehigh Valley. The Koberger family home in Albrightsville sits safely guarded behind the gates of Indian Mountain Lake Development. The house is about 10 minutes from Mount Pleasant High School, where Koberger graduated in 2013. But it was about an hour south in Lehigh Valley, where Koberger spent the bulk of his 20s lurking amongst thousands of college students for years. He would have been indistinguishable from any other college student, young adult, recent college grad, or graduate student going around the Lehigh Valley, said Steve Novak, a reporter for the LehighValley.com. Good afternoon, Sirius Black. Welcome in. Oh, so Joy, right? Yeah, you can't help but go there. Sirius, are you part of that nasty weather system, girl? Oh, be safe. Nasty weather during the night, and I'm very grateful to be here with you guys. Well, we are so glad you are okay. I know it got pretty treacherous for a lot of people out there. So glad to hear you're okay. And thanks for coming in. All right, Koberger spent years in the Lehigh Valley area studying at both Northampton College and Bethlehem Township and DeSales in Upper Sequan Township in his early 20s. While studying at DeSales, Koberger met Ferrero. At the time, I would never have said, oh yeah, that guy would do something like this. He may have been a little odd or a little off. But other than that, you never expect to be allegedly part of a quadruple homicide. Down a winding tree-lined road on the outskirts of Lehigh Valley sits DeSales University, a private Catholic school with less than 5,000 students. It's a small school. It's not like it's a Penn State or a Pitt or a Temple. It's a very small school in a cornfield, Ferrero said. So if you go there, you know most of the people within your study and pretty much everyone that goes to the school. He was not known. Oh, he wasn't part of the in crowd. As a commuter student, Koberger came and went from DeSales campus during his undergraduate psychology studies. Ferrero said Koberger kept to himself and didn't show any outward signs of something more menacing. It is not always the creepy guy with glasses and oily hair creeping around the corner. It sometimes just looks like average Joe. That on the inside, you have no idea what he looks like. But on the outside, he may just seem like a normal person, much like Koberger did. Joe Schmo, are you a regular guy on the outside, but inside we have a whole different person?
I will never tell.
In 2018, Ferrero teamed up with Koberger for a biology project on Daphnia, or water fleas. Excuse me. They worked together for an entire semester. About water fleas, okay? We get sand fleas out on the beach. They worked together for an entire semester. He was new, and I said, "Hey, buddy, do you want to be my lab partner?" And that's usually how it goes down. So I took him, and it ended up working out very well. Ferrero said, Ferrero, who received an undergraduate criminal justice degree from DeSales, followed news coverage of the University of Idaho murders from the beginning. It came as a surprise when his former classmate was arrested and charged. After news broke of Koberger's arrest, Ferrero recorded his reaction and posted it on a TikTok video. Oh, did he? My reaction was exactly, I know this guy. I definitely remember that name from DeSales, but I couldn't paint the face in my mind. I'm like, Brian Koberger. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Brian Koberger. I did a project with him in biology. The two worked together while studying for their respective undergraduate degrees. Koberger received his undergraduate degree in psychology in 2018. After that, he began master's degree studies in criminal justice, also at DeSales. Learning from renowned forensic psychologists. How much did you learn from her? During that time, both Ferrero and Koberger studied under renowned forensic psychologist at DeSales University, Dr. Catherine Ramsland. Law and Crime Network reached out to Ramsland for this story, but were told via email, I am making no statements about Brian Koberger and will not be interviewed for any stories that feature him. You know that one day she will. All right? And I'm here for it. Like, I've seen everything she's done on BTK. Like, I already know you're doing it, lady. I already know you're doing it, so I'm ready to see it when you're ready. She can't help herself. But months before Koberger's arrest, Ramsland appeared on Law and Crime Network's podcast, Cocktails and Cocktails. They have a podcast called Cocktails and Cocktails. Okay. Have I come face to face with psychopaths? Absolutely. The coldness, the lack of remorse, definitely, Ramsland said while appearing on the podcast. Some people call that evil, but we are finding that it might be very well a brain disorder. Oh, hell. In the
That
interview.
Canton, over there in Canton, they know all about those cocktails and cocktails.
Joe, we got to make a thumbnail. Cocktails and Cocktails in Canton. Ooh, I gotta write that down. Like, for real. That's not right, but it's funny, ain't it? Because it's true. I mean, my God. In the interview, given just 7 months before the University of Idaho murders, Ramsland explained the workings of a psychopath's mind. I wonder how much opportunity she had to be one-on-one with Koberger versus just online studies. Was there red flags that even she missed? That gives you chills, doesn't it? The brains of what we call primary psychopaths, who seem to be born with the brain disconnect, are definitely different. It allows them to be predators if that's what they choose to be. Not all psychopaths are criminals. Not all psychopaths are murderers, Ramsland said. If they choose that, it allows them to be very effective, better because they really don't have any remorse over what they're doing. And they really can be very calculated. They tend to be very reward driven. Damn. According to a forensic psychologist, Dr. John Delatorre, Koberger can't yet be labeled a psychopath or even a serial killer. What actually happened was that he was a mass killer, Delatorre said rather. Whoever did this should be actually considered a mass killer, but that doesn't take away from the possibility that they are also a serial killer. Ferrero believes Koberger snapped, saying, I think he's just sick. I think that people online want to make this into a fairy tale and make it grandiose and much more than it is. if he had done this, I think it's a sick individual that finally snapped. But according to Delator, that's not likely. No one just snaps, he says. Really? Have you ever seen that show called Snapped? No one just snaps. There can be a straw that breaks the camel's back if we want to continue to use idioms. That certainly can happen. But that person has been dealing with distressing emotions for a very long time and has been unsuccessful in coping with them in a healthy way. All right, he's getting all technical about it now. Let's go use the terms and the words correctly. What Delator and Ransom separately agree on, a motive may be hard to pin down. Psychopaths have a variety of motives, but their personalities tend to have that rigidity and the inability to go with life's hard knocks, and to believe they are entitled to more than they need to punish people for them not getting what they think they deserve, Ramsland said on the Cocktails and Cocktails podcast. Delator told Law and Crime, because rejection is such a touchy subject for him, it's certainly possible that a buildup over time, a buildup of rejection, could have led to engaging in this kind of behavior. In his mind, it's finally time to set right the world that has gone wrong inside of him. Ferrero has his own theory about Kohberger's alleged motive. I think he had this compulsion, this need, this necessity to do it. And he's probably always wanted to do it. And finally said, fuck it, I'm going to do it. I kind of feel like that might be true. What do you guys think? Did he snap, or was this something that, he acted on something he'd been thinking about doing for a really long time? I'm always curious to know what people think about that part.
I think he was planning it out. He was trying to plan the quote unquote perfect crime.
Yeah.
If you snap, you're going to leave behind more evidence.
True that.
One way or another. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because you're not going to be as prepared, right, to go in and be efficient and get out. A lot more things can go wrong and left behind. So you're right about that. There was no snapping involved, was it? Did something push him to go ahead toward that date that he did things? Maybe. With things building in his teaching job and all that. We had no indication he was here at all. We had no oh wait, he's up here. They had no run-ins with the law while at Lehigh Valley. We had no indication he was here at all. We had no indication he had any interaction with law enforcement at all, Northampton County District Attorney Terry Hawk told Law and Crime. After Kohberger's arrest, Hawk's team reviewed area cold cases for a possible link to Kohberger, which they did come out and state they were doing that. In the area of Pennsylvania, which takes us all the way back to Dana Smithers, and we're going to look at something else in just a few minutes. When you have somebody who might have serial attached to their name, you're just going to make a check to see if there's any connection, since he had contact with the county. There was none here in Northampton County. Similar investigations were also conducted in neighboring Lehigh County. Law and Crime Network reached out to Lehigh County District Attorney Jim Martin, who declined to be interviewed. Isn't that funny? One county just declines to be interviewed about what they looked into, what the outcome was, but over there at Northampton area, they're like, oh, we had no interactions here. According to how the news of Kohberger's arrest shocked the community. Obviously, it's the reaction that everybody has. It's close to home, because when you're watching and people are posting Facebook pics of him on campus. One such campus is Northampton College, Community College, where Kohberger received his Associates of Arts of Psychology. And that was in 2018, like we discussed. Northampton College is a beautiful school. It is a well-respected academic institution. I would call it a pillar in the community. There's a lot of kids that go. Kohberger himself commuted about 50 miles from Albartsville to NCC's Bethlehem campus while studying for the degree. Northampton Community College is very centrally located, kind of a modern facility. It's established itself very well as a place to get your foot in the door in a lot of different areas. It's a place that people do come over, that do come from all over, lots of commuters. To learn more about Koberger's time at school, Law and Crime reached out to NCC for this story. The senior director of the marketing communications, Megan Reed, replied via email, This isn't something we'd like to pursue at the moment, and we'll be in touch should anything change. That nobody's wanting to talk about this guy, and this has been the case, except for a few teachers from the high school days that spoke out in a couple of interviews. That was it. The colleges were like, we're not talking about this guy. Even if he had a run-in in a bar, that would not have been anything unusual or even really noteworthy. Not until hindsight. According to multiple reports, Koberger frequented the Bethlehem Brewery, Seven Sirens, while he attended college in the area. People who have been interviewed said Koberger allegedly made multiple women uncomfortable, so much so that records of his strange interactions were kept. Now, that is something that this was reported very early on. Again, no confirmation except for what the bar itself told, Law and Crime and other outlets they spoke to. Welcome in, Need Some Z's. All right, Need Some Z's, honey. If you don't have to, we're just reading the article. We've read a couple, and we're watching some stuff about DeSales University, and we know to take everything here with a grain of salt. Don't take it all as golden facts. We're just reviewing. We're having coffee and crime conversations this morning, y'all. Can it be really looked at as defamatory, though? I mean, you got to prove the people that spoke to these reporters are like maliciously lying and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I've stated several times, as we read it, we cannot confirm nor deny any of this. Yes, I understand. And here we have a banner, and I think the banner even says innocent until proven guilty by a jury of your peers. According to multiple reports, Koberger frequented the brewery Seven Sirens. Okay, as I read, he made multiple women uncomfortable, so much that the records of his strange interactions were kept. So now we got a high school reporting interactions with women not so great. We got the college doing the same thing. We saw his interaction with the lady police officer. Like stuff I saw with my own eyes. People who have been interviewed said Koberger allegedly made multiple women uncomfortable. Okay. Law and Crime reached out to the owner of Seven Sirens multiple times, but never received a response. So the owner won't speak, but the people who worked there did. And again, this was a bar back over there in Pennsylvania during his college time. But to label Koberger as a serial killer because of these alleged interactions could be a rush to judgment, according to Delator. They may be engaging in the fundamental attribution error, where they're linking all of these things to describe who he is as a person, forgetting that there are many different external influences. It just reminded me of somebody who studies criminology. If he did do this, that the reactionary aspect is kind of maybe what compelled him to engage in this particular act. Koberger studied how criminal minds work. Some theorize Koberger's connection to criminal justice may have played a role in the murders. That he was studying criminology, I think, is the most interesting aspect of the entire case, Novak said. Without getting into whether or not he actually did it, it is certainly a compelling angle of the case as it's developed so far. I could agree. to know that there's someone's mind could be, and when and where could that take them. DeSales University boasts a robust criminal justice program, promoting hands-on training and courses taught by renowned professors. DeSales University has an entire house. They call it the crime scene house. We're going to look at one of those again in just a few minutes from the DeSales playlist. That it used for simulations for crime scene investigation or collecting evidence or crime scene photography or responding to other emergencies, Novak said. It's not a really large campus, is it? According to court documents, Koberger's criminal justice studies were important enough for detectives to investigate. While executing a search warrant at Koberger's parents' home, investigators recovered criminal psychology book and DeSales University documents. And that's in the search warrant return, and we've known that for a long time. Now we're just getting a look at what some of the documents that they have that they're going to be using, like the 12-page essay that we looked at the other day. Law and Crime Network reached out to Koberger's entire criminal justice graduating class, but all his classmates either did not reply or declined our request for an interview. One classmate wrote via text that DeSales University sent in general communication that suggested everything go through the university as to be respectful of the ongoing situation. The Associate Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Carolyn Stiegelman, told Law and Crime Network via phone that the school did not discourage students from speaking with the media. She told students she was available to assist in media requests on a case-by-case basis. The school's statement via email recapped Koberger's majors, the years he completed each program, and confirmed he was always a commuter student. DeSales is just such a close-knit and heartfelt community. Like I said, everybody knows each other. And the fact that really no one knows about this guy. He went in and out. But it was Koberger's time at DeSales University and the completion of his master's degree in criminal justice that led him to Washington State University for the next chapter of his life, pursuing more education and walking among thousands of college students. And there's the photo of his graduation at DeSales. And some pointed out that even the other day in this chat, someone pointed out that he appeared to be happier in his thumbs up picture than he did when he received his diploma here. No, did it just, it's a camera. It's going to capture it awkward, different times. Was he smiling right before that, right after? And we only see this one shot. People to compare that kind of stuff is just kind of like, that's a stretch a little bit. But we actually have video of him getting this diploma, but it's not zoomed in really good. It's like a further away video, walking across the stage. And he appeared to walk just fine, by the way. Didn't seem to have any coordination issues. Koberger's conversation topics with new neighbors. Literally, like days after these murders happened, he brought it up when I saw him in the hallway. Christian Martinez told Law and Crime. Now, this is what Dolphin brought this up the other day. Martinez lives in Pullman, Washington, in the apartment complex where Koberger lived when he first moved to the area in 2022. Those are the two things he said. They have no leads, and they think it was a crime of passion. And that's exactly what was said in the beginning of this case. No leads, crime of passion. And why was it designated crime of passion? Because people were brutally killed and seem very passionate. They say the way that it's done, they can sometimes tell if it was a stranger or someone who loved the person, you know what I mean? Or closely, whatever. There's ways to tell. So I don't know if they figured the nature of the crime itself lent itself to a crime of passion. Who knows? People try to figure that shit out for 2 years. I don't think it's strange that he brought it up at all. I mean, maybe he's a true crime buff like the rest of us, right? But then again, anytime anybody speaks, needs some Z's, you got to know where I'm coming from, honey, because if anytime anybody speaks a word negative, It's somebody's coming in to defend him. And you can do that all day long, but we're just reading the article. We're just analyzing what made this guy tick, if he's the guy. I always say that, if he's the guy. But that's what I'm doing here. That's what we're doing. I think we're all on the same page, though, innocent until proven guilty. There are two things. Okay, so he discussed it with his neighbor and about, the crime of passion and no leads. He just really liked talking to me in the hall. He would talk about his studies, like forensics and stuff and criminology stuff. And the time, that just seemed like normal times. So whenever he would see that neighbor and it would interact, the discussions would be based around his forensic studies and stuff, criminology and stuff, 1122 King murders and stuff. Sorry, I was just joking, Z's. Martinez, who lives just across the hall from Koberger's old apartment, says he remembers the accused killer moving to the area in the summer of 2022. I met his dad in the parking lot. He just stopped and started talking to me. I told y'all his dad liked to chat. His dad was wanting to introduce me to Brian and he said something. I don't remember the exact word he used to describe him, but it was something that was like, he has a hard time making friends, or he's kind of shy. Now, that was Koberger's dad talking to the new neighbor. Oh, you're good. I was just letting you know, so you and I are on the same page, hun. That's all. So he's Brian Koberger's dad did help him, when he first moved out there. So he's already out there in the parking lot, hitting up the new people, saying, "Hey, my kid is shy, hard time making friends. Can you be his friend?" Koberger kept tabs on the University of Idaho murders, continuing to bring them up in conversation before his arrest, according to Martinez. He was like, "Oh, did you hear about these murders? What happened?" And it was like so short after they actually happened. There was barely any news articles out. There wasn't much that I could have read. So I was like, "Yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, of course, I've heard about them." He was like, "Yeah, it seems like they don't have any leads." And then he's like, "Yeah, it seems like they think it was a crime of passion." Now, would you bring it up, though? I mean, isn't that risky if you... I wouldn't say a word to nobody. I ain't heard about nothing. After having these conversations with Koberger, Martinez believes he may have had a fascination with death or killing. Well, if he's the guy, yeah, but that's a big assumption right there, quickly. It was kind of on the subject of what it would take to take some... Were they discussing it? Well, hang on a minute. It was kind of on the subject of what it would take to take someone's life. It was kind of like he was trying to see my perspective on, I guess, taking someone's life. Wow. So he's having interesting conversations, not only on Reddit asking questions, but he's asking real life people questions now. It's one thing to bring up in passing in the hallway, "Did you hear about the Moscow murders?" Not once, but a couple of times he did that. In passing, "Let me tell you about my latest criminology class." But now in passing, "Hey, let me ask you this." This is weird conversations. Shouldn't he been like, "Hey, where's the greatest vegan restaurant?" Or "Where's the coolest bar to go hang out at?" Or "Where's the coolest place to go pick up chicks?" None of these conversations were being had. Interesting. Yeah. Shh, Asha. Shh. In the making, right? In the making. Guess what? Forensics caught up to Rex too, didn't they? He even started keeping diaries on the advances of DNA. Rex Horman did. And now they're having damn hearings over there. Y'all know they showed a Jurassic Park clip from the movie in that hearing the other day on that nuclear DNA. We don't get to see it because they don't have cameras in the courtroom. But I did find some interesting articles. I was keeping an update with it. And I was like, what? They played a video from the Jurassic Park movie in there? Like, that was so intriguing to me. Yeah, I get that, Z, but the neighbor's not a criminology student, right? I'm talking about if the guy's account is accurate, and this goes kind of in passing in hallway conversations, not like they went to dinner and were having, a chat or sitting out by the pool, chatting it up, having a beer. It's like these are like, hey, how you doing in the parking lot kind of conversations, and this is what they're talking about. That's just odd to me. Um, I don't know, maybe they did go to dinner and have these discussions about the subject of what it would take to take someone's life. That's a okay. After the pair were first introduced, Martinez invited Koberger to a pool party. That would be the pool party at the Grove. At the party, Zach Cartwright met Koberger for the first time. I did notice him, and I noticed that he was kind of standing off the entire time. He wasn't very social, and I thought was kind of weird because it was a party and people were interacting. He just kind of was standoffish. Now Brian had to go out and get swim trunks for this party. He didn't have any. And he got invited to the party because his friend was trying to help him make friends. He did seem kind of just socially awkward and kind of hard to carry on a conversation with. Now, people who said that in these articles caught a lot of shit. But guess what? Ann Taylor says the same thing. Like just recently in one of her recent court filings, he's socially awkward. I need to explain to the jury his dead stare. Why the entire trial's going on, why he will seem unemotional. But these people were lying right here when they talked about this stuff they noticed. But besides that, he mainly kept to the side and was really observant. I bet. So much so that based on that one small interaction, he knew exactly who I was maybe a month or so later when I saw him on that hike. I'm in a good mood, y'all. Mr. Koberger was out hiking that day. I'd love to know where. I need to find this guy because I like to know where that hike occurred. When they crossed paths again, Cartwright said it was strange how quickly Koberger recognized him. It was really weird on how he approached me and that the people that I was with, because he acted kind of like we were best friends. It was like a reunion or something. And he was really excited to see us, and I had no idea really who he was at that second. So I guess it took him a minute to recognize him. Those two small interactions proved important enough for Cartwright to be interviewed by the FBI after Koberger's arrest. So I guess when the police were going around, to the apartment complex, talking to people, anybody know this guy? This guy probably said, yeah, I knew him. Did you have any interactions? Yeah, I talked to him. But now the FBI talked to him. Because it doesn't say interviewed by Moscow PD. I did speak to the FBI at one point. I do believe they spoke to a lot of people that were at the party. And maybe because that was one of his very first times, if not his first time in Moscow. And the date of that party and the date the other day, what exactly was, I'm just getting my notes. Dolphin and I noticed, I know she's up. Where is she? I'll have to go look at that. Okay, so this pool party has been a lot of rumors on YouTube about this pool party. Kaylee and Maddie were at the pool party. Oh, I read articles where he allegedly got two girls' phone numbers from this same pool party. We've not seen any confirmation that Maddie and Kaylee or any of the victims were at this pool party. This party was in Moscow, Idaho, though, right across, the state line there. Martinez and his wife were also interviewed by the FBI after Koberger's arrest. He says his wife always felt something was off with the now suspected murderer. She didn't have a good feeling about him because every time I would tell her I'm going to invite Brian because he didn't have any friends and I was trying to bring him out and maybe meet people. But she was always like, no, please don't. Huh. I wonder if there's any truth behind that, and if so, that's super interesting. I'd like to talk to her too. He was talking about genealogy. This is where that came from, where he had spoke to the neighbors about this. He was talking about genealogy because I was talking about 23andMe. Now, see, people on the internet say that Brian approached the friend and brought the conversation up, but right here, the friend says he brought it up. He was talking about genealogy because I was talking about 23andMe, because my sister had just did all that. And then he brought up something similar in his studies that had to do with being able to catch criminals because of their relatives' DNA. Oh, goodness. Hold on. This dude ain't stupid. Which I guess how he got caught up in his mix. When was this article again? He knew they were going to do IgG if they got any fucking thing off that sheet. March 15th, 2023. He absolutely knew they was going to do IgG. It's part of your studies, isn't it, to know that kind of stuff? He knew he wasn't going to be in CODIS. So if you get my DNA, it's not going to be in CODIS, which we know it was not. Only other way to get to him with that DNA would have been through IgG, unless he got himself arrested somewhere and went into the database and they reran it like 2 years later, cold case style. The probable cause affidavit released after Koberger's arrest revealed a knife sheath that was left behind at the crime scene, containing a single source of male DNA. When compared with DNA recovered from the trash at Koberger's parents' house, it proved a near perfect match. We now know that the DNA from the parents was Koberger's dad's, and the neighbor's garbage contained Brian's. When the FBI interviewed Martinez, officials asked whether he had ever seen Koberger with a similar weapon. Aren't we hearing about some witnesses now that may have seen this dude with the weapon? Yes, we have. And I'm thinking to myself, I know when he left Pennsylvania, I know when these allegedly ordered the K-bar, I know he was still in Moscow apparently, or Pullman rather, when the searches for the replacement were made. So how does his family know he looked for a replacement if he wasn't there yet and they didn't see him looking for it? And all these things go through my mind. But I wonder if that guy knew Brian Koberger owned a K-bar knife. What do you think, Joe? Are you still with me? Did you went away for a phone call? Did you come back? Joe's telling you to keep on reacting. I have more questions for this Mr. Martinez. If he's going to be called as a witness, he won't talk to nobody. Investigators determined the knife was a K-bar with the United States Marine Corps insignia on it. That also stuck out in past conversations Martinez shared with Koberger. He would talk about the military. He was interested in my military service. When a Thanksgiving approached less than 2 weeks after the murders, Moscow police announced their investigation and would continue through the holiday. As local, state, and federal officials continued on in the early stages of the investigation, Koberger texted Martinez on Thanksgiving, saying, "Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family." It kind of made me feel bad because I was like one of the people that he made friends with. Would it have not made a difference if I'd been able to meet up with him the times that I could have? Maybe that would have changed anything. Maybe that wouldn't have changed anything. So what, did he want to meet up a couple times and you couldn't, didn't? So he gets a text on this guy from Koberger on Thanksgiving, and that made him feel bad. Why did he feel bad on Thanksgiving? When did the FBI talk to this guy? I got questions now, y'all. It kind of made me feel bad because I was like one of the people who made friends with him. That's awkward stuff to say. Time of the timeline. Okay, we know the timeline. We know all that. We know about the car. We know all these details here. There's actually a couple of interesting things in these. If you go back to the old stuff and you read some of the old stuff that you haven't, I mean, because this has been done nearly 3 years of looking at stuff, right? It's interesting what you go back and review then that makes even more sense now. I'm speculating. All right, I'm going to apply. Let me get. Okay. Ooh. Sorry, guys. Hold on one second. Let me close this, pull this out. Oh, okay. Sorry, I got a text from Joe. He's on another call. I knew he was a little busy today. All right. All right, we'll take a look at a couple more things from DeSales for a few minutes. And I'm going to go let the dog out because she's annoying me to go outside. Excuse me. Okay. So we went over and watched the DeSales officers police academy training video. We looked at their digital lab and we looked at the mock investigation. Now, this one is called Master of Arts in Criminal Justice. I don't think we played this one yet. It's a minute and a half long, so we're going to take a look at this one before we, and then we got a couple of, these are all little short ones, just a couple little short ones left, but they're intriguing. Let me get the screen up. Okay, and this one is Master of Arts in Criminal Justice.
If you're thinking about a career in law enforcement, or if you're in law enforcement, then
did I play this one already, guys?
At DeSales University, we have a Master's of Arts in Criminal Justice, and it has several components to it. The traditional in-classroom master's program. Digital forensics is an emerging field in law enforcement.
Digital evidence, media that may have evidentiary or probative value.
Computers, cell phones, evidence that might be found on those types of media.
And then examine those pieces of evidence or those devices in a forensically sound manner.
Another track we have is investigative forensics, study of criminology, theory and practice, forensic toxicology, and then also looking at the behavioral aspects within criminal justice. I mean, often people think of behavioral analysis unit.
I thought so, Forrest. They're all so damn, to me, they're all intriguing. The difference all in forensic, you know, they always bring up the forensic phone stuff. And I'm like, man, this guy, phone was done for a reason. I just don't know what it was, as I'm not, you know, criminology major here. Okay, let me get the next one that I had in line, because this one's pretty cool. Okay, this one is called The Crime Scene House on Taylor Drive. Now, you've heard Dolphin and I speak about it before. We just read it a little while ago as well, that they have this crime scene house. They have actually a couple of things. This is one of them. Let me pull this up and get this screen up. Okay. And this one's just like a minute long, so. That one didn't have no talking. Did it? Yes, we did, Forrest. So that, let me see. Hold on. Let me get back. Hold on, dog. I didn't go let her out yet. She's like, hey, you forgot about me. No, I didn't. Okay. Hang on, guys. I'm making sure we didn't. I think we may have watched them all already because they were so short clips that we were looking at. Because there were two different ones here. I think this is the. Hang on one second. Okay, I think this is the last one. If you let me know, Forrest, if you think we played this one, but I think this is the last one.
We're here for CJ 360, which is a criminal justice crime scene investigation class. We're here at a house on campus.
We have some crime scenes set up in the kitchen. There's some upstairs in the bedrooms.
The different scenarios in every room are giving us a real-world kind of example of what's going on. So there's different rooms are set up with different mock-ups. Some have guns, some have bats, all fake, obviously. Blood splatter issues. So we're going in there and we're having to do initial processing, looking at the room, walking around, collecting evidence.
Later on, we're doing some fingerprint stuff with the fingerprint powder, and then we are going to possibly do plaster cast and stuff, so outside.
How many footprints did we say? And using it as a real-world example of what it would be like to be a criminal investigator investigating a crime scene.
It's really like hands-on. I think I learn a lot better that way too. So you really get into this stuff. It's fun.
It's neat because it's giving us the ability to actually see what these investigators and crime scene processing people do on a daily basis. And maybe even with a psychology degree or criminal justice, it'll give you a better direction of where you want to go.
Oh goodness, I almost pushed the wrong button. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So, I know that I don't know why people get so heated over these cases or why they take them so personally. And I don't understand why we live in a place when, because if I see if y'all ever seen my Delphi coverage compared to the Idaho, you'll see a whole different me. So I base what I try to look at these cases fairly based on what we've seen. And there's a lot of circumstantial evidence stacking up against Brian Koberger. And if you can't logically see that and acknowledge it as much as I can acknowledge, this guy could still be guilty. I mean, innocent. Right? I've already got some questions, investigation questions. I don't want anybody's rights violated in any part of any process, because that doesn't do the victims any good. Because sometimes that lets the bad guy get away. But for, if there was nothing but really good things out there about this guy, and I know people go, well, people are going to say all kind of stuff. Not true, because there's not a lot of people talking about Brian Koberger. Only a few have spoke out, and the few that have all said things very similar to one another that now apparently are the same exact things his attorney says about him, but we still won't acknowledge that maybe the people who were just pointing those things out in the past weren't so wrong after all. But does that affect the jury pool? Is that going to affect your mind? Everybody can think differently. But for people to come in hot, I don't, I guess I can say I get it, but I don't. Everybody's going to have their own feelings about these cases and all that. That's great. But I think a lot of the high profile cases out there that do have that do have legit problems, people, will they automatically assume every high profile case has those same kind of problems? I don't want to live in that world where they all are going to be that way. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot out there about this guy that, doesn't look that great, but that still doesn't mean he did things. And I think that we can still talk about them and conclude that. But you gotta say, it doesn't make it look, and it's not like he was like the golden child. There's just too many things are starting to stack up that make you wonder, like this one. Let me pull this article up. Okay. I know we brought this up to you guys before. We haven't really talked about it a ton because there's literally not a lot of information out there on it, because it was a grand jury procedure, and those things are never going to be shown to us. Ann Taylor may have some transcripts, but those things are so heavily redacted. When we're not going to see that stuff. We've gotten to see little tidbits come out, but that's about it. Okay, so Brian Koberger's parents were subpoenaed to testify before a Pennsylvania grand jury. Now, why would they need to do that? The subpoena is a pretty strong thing to do to somebody. You got to have some pretty good probable cause to get that subpoena in there. Especially, if you're going before a grand jury and you want an indictment, they're an investigation purpose at this point. Are you looking for an indictment? What's really going on here? So why did his parents need to go testify in Pennsylvania? This was after his arrest in Idaho, mind you. Not before, it was after. So this was published May 25th of 2023. The parents of Pennsylvania man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students has been subpoenaed to testify before a Monroe County grand jury. Now, we just read that article a few minutes ago where they were automatically looking into other crimes in those areas because that would be normal under a decent investigation. Did something, was there a red flag somewhere on certain things and they needed more information? Brian Koberger, 28, was arrested in December in Monroe County and charged with burglary and 4 counts of first-degree murder. Citing an anonymous source familiar with the situation, CNN said Michael Koberger, which is Brian's dad, is expected to testify today before the grand jury in Monroe County, and Marianne Koberger previously testified before the panel. So they testified on separate days. Grand jury proceedings are secret by law. The testimony under oath could be shared with prosecutors in Idaho. The testimony under oath could be shared with prosecutors in Idaho, since Pennsylvania law allows judges to release transcripts of witness testimony before grand juries to other investigative agencies. That's interesting. I wonder if anything came out of that grand jury and what it was even about. In news releases Thursday afternoon, Stroud Area Regional Police shot down reports connecting Brian Koberger to the investigation into missing person Dana Smithers. The SARPD has no evidence that Dana Smithers' disappearance is in any way tied to Idaho murder suspect Brian Koberger. A grand jury in Idaho indicted Brian Koberger in the stabbing deaths, allowing the prosecutors to skip a planned week-long preliminary hearing that was set for late June. Yeah, we were looking forward to that prelim, and y'all had to pop off at the grand jury instead. At a hearing on Monday, Koberger refused to enter pleas to his criminal charges. So, yeah, I wanted to read you guys that about the grand jury stuff, because we had talked about it, but really hadn't, there's not a lot of information out there on it. Like I've said, this is just like this. Basically, the same thing said here is the same thing you'll receive in other reports that came out about that grand jury. Brian Etten, there's a lot of reporters that were trying to get to the bottom of that grand jury investigation, and their mum's the word on all that. What do you guys think about something like that? Would they impanel a grand jury and call his parents to testify just on a, can we question you about your son's activities? No, they're going to go to their house and do that, or call them down to the station and talk to them. They're not going to put them in front of a grand jury. There's very specific reasons you do that. Got some very specific questions for you, sir and ma'am.
I'm confused. I have no idea why.
Confused about what?
So the news release said we have no reasons to believe that Brian Koberger is involved in any way.
Mm-hmm.
So why would his parents get called in for the grand jury? That's what I'm confused about.
Well, exactly. We don't know, and we don't even know that the grand jury concerned Dana Smithers' investigation. We don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we don't know that. We don't know what the grand jury was impaneled for, right? But the only thing people could think of was Dana Smithers.
Gotcha.
Because she lived in the area. She possibly had a connection to Brian Koberger. The dates that when she went missing compared to when he left to go to Idaho or over to Pennsylvania or to Washington rather, that, because they've not confirmed anywhere what that grand jury was about. But it was about something. And it definitely concerned Brian Koberger. If the parents were called to testify, it wasn't about one of his sisters. And it wasn't about them unless they have something on the books that we don't know about. You know what I'm saying? It's very strange. And that if they were investigating something and they needed information about their son, about, his whereabouts, like where did he live during a certain time frame and all that, they just call him in and do a basic interview with them, right? Not have to impanel a grand jury unless they refuse to speak to the cops in any capacity, which I don't believe that that's the case. I believe that they probably did do a preliminary, interview with them. Were things said during that interview that led to a grand jury, or were there other things during their investigation into the Koberger that led to a grand jury that led to that? I don't know. We have no confirmation. It was very odd for it to happen after his arrest in Idaho. And then we're like, wait, his parents had to go testify? What's the hell is that about? But it is interesting they have come out and said that it's got nothing to do with Dana Smithers. You know, are they going to tell us the truth about that, though, or not? You know what I mean? I'll have to bring you guys Dana's story one evening. We'll have to put together a little. I first saw Dana's case on, I think it was Oxygen. It's one of the shows that I watch. I don't freaking know which ones I watch half the time. 48 Hours, Dateline. It wasn't Dateline, though. It was something that Oxygen put out, I think. Was the first time I ever heard of Dana Smithers. I didn't even know who Brian Koberger was at the time. But I knew who Dana Smithers was. And I knew what happened to her that night. Well, I knew her last movements of the night. I watched her walk out of her friend's house on the Ring camera into the darkness with her cell phone in her hand, never to be seen again. And was following that story. And then Brian Koberger got arrested. And then in the Facebook group for Dana is where I learned that he may have worked with her at the pizza place at the mall. And they both had a addiction to a certain type of drug. Did they know each other? And if they did, how long and how well, right? So that's always been a question. And this Dana's sister can't answer those questions. She doesn't know. But they kind of went silent on Dana's investigation, even on the Facebook page. Like, I check it from time to time, and there's nothing going down. And I'm like, used to be pretty happening. You know what I'm saying? It was regular stuff, but now anymore it's not. So I don't know what to make of any of that yet. All right, let me check something here. So, Joe, do you have any thoughts on the upcoming trial for Lori? Anything? Your thoughts? Are you reflecting on anything? What do you got going on in your mind?
I don't think she has a leg to stand on, and she's also a very, very inept attorney. So,
yes, she is.
Most of her defense witnesses were struck by the judge, were precluded, which means excluded. So, I don't know what kind of a case she can put on for herself when it's her turn.
Well, yeah. And like I said, the Idaho, there was hardly any defense at all. So it makes you wonder, does she even have a game plan, right? Or is she honestly thinking, God's got this, you know?
She has a game plan, but it's not based in the rules of evidence or the rules of law. I mean, it's just based on her narrative of how she's going to string it, because the questions that she asked the jurors yesterday were, is there anybody that has a blended family, and would you be more favorable or less favorable if I also have a blended family? Or that's what she was insinuating, that her argument is going to be that she has a blended family and there were difficult family dynamics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's all I heard in her questions. So she has a game plan of sorts, but she's going to try and spin it. She's going to try and tell her story, tell her narrative.
Oh, she always,
yeah. And then she's going to claim that she didn't get a fair trial.
Well, she's got no one to blame but her attorney at that point, which is going to be herself. And I think this judge is going to do a pretty good job of protecting the record, though, to try to make sure that nothing comes up for her to be able to have a good, strong appeal on. You know what I mean? Right. Even her appeals in Idaho aren't going to do her any good. But she can appeal away all she wants, but she'll be sitting in prison the whole time she's doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just going to, like, I just don't know, man, how it's going to play out with her questioning the other experts. Is she smart enough to even question the experts? What are you going to dispute about what the expert says? Those are kind of things that I'm not looking forward to it, of course, but looking forward to see how she handles, I guess is the right way to say that. Actually, Joy, that they found Dana after the grand jury. Isn't that interesting? So, yeah, I need to put together a little backstory on that whole story for us to go over one night. Maybe we'll do that on a members only live. well, yeah. And like I said, I'm working on a couple things. So Joe, you and I have been invited to Miss Shorty's channel. What, Friday night? Is that tomorrow? Is today Thursday? I think that is tomorrow
It
night.
sure is, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, it sure is. Yeah. We need to get her channel link in here. Let's see. Let me do that. Oh, I need to go back into where I was at to do that, though. I think, what time did she tell me?
I think it was 6 Eastern.
I think you're right. It would be 5 my time because I was going to make, yeah, because the kiddos don't usually come in early on a Friday evening. No way. And I'm going to make sure I don't have to, deal with nothing, dinner, none of that stuff going on so I can be prepared.
That's 3 o'clock my time. That's early afternoon. Well, mid-afternoon.
Well, you need to move. You need
I
to.
will after the trial. I will after the trial.
Kidding you. Okay, let me share. Looks like Miss Shorty has a live coming up this evening. You guys doing one this evening?
No, she still has to change that. We were planning on it. And then we switched.
Oh, wait. Y'all got it switched for April 25th.
Yep.
April 25th. Okay. Because I was just, when I went to grab her link, I saw that. Okay. All right. Let me get back in here. Oh, Forrest, you got me? He's sorry. He's like, I'm already on top of it, Salty. Stop it.
Yeah.
He's like, you do your job, I'll do mine. Thank you. That is the link to Miss Shorty's channel. Joe and I will be over there with her tomorrow evening. We will be discussing Lori Vallow. I'm not quite sure what all our topics will be yet. I'm going to talk to Miss Shorty later and see if there's any particulars that she wants to go over and kind of get a game plan going there. So you guys tune into that. And she's got an upcoming show with Joe toward the end of the month. I guess they're doing a little Delphi something together there.
Yep.
So you guys go check that out. And Joe, your last live was with, what's the name of that channel? I don't want to say it wrong.
Trial TV Live.
Trial TV. Yeah. That was a good show. If you guys missed it, go over and check Joe's last live out. Do you have anything planned before you go to trial on Monday? Not you particularly, but you know what I mean. You're
Just
not
getting ready for it.
You're not gonna hold a pre-game day Lori show. You could. Hey, I'll do it. You come join me Sunday morning, and we'll do it. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to let you guys go for the day. I wanted to start now. When I say part 1, looking into Koberger, I'm not done. We're going to start looking at some of these documents that talk about his conditions and some very specific things in there that his defense attorneys have said about him. And then we're going to have discussions based around what she has said. So nobody can say, y'all are just making shit up. No, we're going to read the defense attorney's own words about her client and take a look at this guy a little bit deeper, I guess you could say. But I do appreciate all you guys. There's Joe's link is right there as well. Trial TV's link is there. Thank you, Forrest. As always, you're on the job, and I appreciate it. Chat, everybody who came in and listened and hung out and chatted, I appreciate all of you guys. I'm not sure if I'll be live in the morning or not, because I do have something I'm working on, so I might just stay busy with that and see you guys tomorrow evening on the show with Joe and Shorty, and then I'll be back on my usual on Sunday. But if something happens overnight, I may go live in the morning. It all depends on my mood. I don't like having schedules because that's what messes me up. I like to come live in the mornings because I'm awake and I'm alert, but sometimes I feel like going every single day, and sometimes I'm like, I'm taking the day off. It all depends. But so I'll let you know. But again, thank you guys for joining, and I hope everybody has a blessed and beautiful day. Like ATT towers were down when got in. Road was just got back home. Oh, okay. Happy. I'm glad you're safe. We are glad you're safe. We went over a few more things. I read a couple more articles and looked at a few more little clips from the DeSales University. You guys, if you're ever interested, DeSales, I don't even have their YouTube channel handy. It was DeSales. What did I go to? Was it DeSales University has a direct YouTube channel, and that's where. Oh, here it is. If you guys are into that type of stuff like I am, you might want to go check out some of their videos. Here, I'll drop it. There's a lot of great information out there. I got some saved up for us to watch too on cell phone data recovery, and all that good stuff. So maybe we'll do that in the morning when we start part 2. Just taking a look at stuff at what he studied, what he may have learned, could he have implemented any of that, all the things that we're wondering about this guy. So yeah, we'll probably do that in the morning. I'll just go over some more of the secondary stuff before we take a deeper mind dive, as I'll call it, or whatever. All right, guys. Well, thank you. And if I didn't see you live, hopefully we'll see you on the replay. If you don't mind, hit that like button. We appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time.
Take care.
Thank you
everyone.
all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe.